So before we start, let me just get myself introduced. I am Attique Ahmad. I've worked with public sector organizations quite a lot of time. And apart from that, I do consulting and I do trainings as well. But right now, I'm doing individual consulting and also the visiting faculty member in a couple of universities. My basic qualifications, right, I've just put on my headphone. Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, fine. Thank you, Ji. I parted from the government as Director General of Information Technology from federal government few months back. And let me share the video for a few minutes and then we'll. And currently I'm doing consulting and as a visiting faculty member in Punjab University and a couple of other universities and consulting in IT. My basic qualifications do include the information technology, management sciences, as well as the project management. My MPhil is in project management. So this is a bit about me. We'll get to know each other during the session today. But what we'll be talking about today is more about the usage of technologies and especially the latest technologies of artificial intelligence, big data, etc., in the financial sector, and particularly with reference to the country as well. So let's just start with our presentation. So by the end of this session, you'll be able to evaluate the characteristics of big data and data analytics, explain the impact of technology of financial management, explain the 4 types of data analytics and the characteristics of the big data, benefits, challenges, and risks of big data and data analytics, describe cloud computing characteristics and its usages, discuss cyber risks and the cybersecurity scenario, automation and artificial intelligence, and last but not the least, the blockchain and the cryptocurrency. So this is what we'll be having as an agenda today. What I would request you, please raise your hands as and when you feel that there's a question, so we can discuss those questions, but questions are most welcome. Discussions, since we have limited time, so probably the long discussions cannot be carried out, but I'll share my email address at the end of the session today, and any details further required by any of the participants will be welcome. So what is the importance of the technology, and especially the information and communication technologies on financial management? Though the word which has been used in this particular slides and the workbook is the IT, but we all know that these days the term has come to the ICT, which is information and communication technology. So it is important for the financial professionals and accountants to be aware of recent developments in the technology, the information and communication technology, and to do that, to that end, we have identified a number of key issues that affect how businesses run. This is not an overly technical chapter, but we all know that we'll not be talking much deeper into the technologies, but rather the managerial perspective of for the financial sector of these things. And towards the end, well, we'll be discussing the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. So we'll be having more of a little bit of a technology. So this is like what the impact of technology has been. 3 major areas: the big data, the blockchain, and the cloud computing. These are the 3 areas which have developed particularly in the last decade or so. Of course, it started a little earlier, but the decade has seen lots of advancement in these. And in big data, we'll be talking more about the data analytics as well as the 4 V's of big data. And within blockchain scenario, we'll discuss cryptocurrencies, And we'll also talk about the impacts of the cloud computing advantages and the disadvantages. This is more or less the same thing. So let's start with the data analytics. As it is these days being said, I'll not be reading only these slides, but also be trying to clarify some of the points. So the data is nowadays being considered as the new gold. We all know that we have got the organizations now which are data-rich organization. But the question came in what to do with the data. We have lots of data as individuals, as organizations. Most of the time we have data, and data. But what exactly the usage of that data can be and how we can get real advantage for the organizations out of that data. We have like many institutions, we have like 20 years data, 30 years data, about all the business processes of the organization, but what's the use of it? So data analytics came as a very interesting science in the recent times, and data analytics is the process of collecting, organizing, and analyzing large sets of data that is generally called as big data to discover patterns and other information which an organization can use to inform future decisions, can have a greater impact on the future decisions based on the data you have in hand. The concept of big data has been around for quite some time now. It is only in the last decade that it has really started to be used in practice by commercial organizations, as the amount of digital information has increased dramatically and the enormous processing power required has become commercially available. Now, just a quick example, since I've in my introduction said that I've worked with the power sector for quite some time, and my latest responsibility was as Director General of Information Technology for the power sector, dealing with all the distribution companies of the power sector. Now, we had the data of like 20 plus years, but we had, clarifying this point, we had lots of issues like how to present the data. Each time a query came in, that we always used to like dig down into the data, come up with some kind of like the formatting of that data, organization of that data, and present a report. But the issues was like it was like lots of time consuming activity and lots of dependency was actually on the human knowledge or the human willingness of how to present that data. But by the introduction of this big data technologies, what has happened is that we've got the data analytics tools which can keep on presenting the data the way you want it to be. So that's like the real advantage that has come in the data analytics these days. Now, talking about the analytics, what kind of analytics we can have now. The first one is the descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics provide insight into what has happened. So it's more about the historical data, right? And it's more about the summarized statistics, the clustering of data, and the association rules used in market basket analysis. So whatever data you have for last 10 years or 15 years or whatever you have already in your hand, what you do is you present it in a way that you can make decisions out of that. So the key features of this particular approach are backward looking. So what happened in the past, and it is focused on descriptions and comparisons. So what happened in the July last year and July the previous year, July 20, July 10, and so on and so forth, whatever your analysis might be. But which may, of course, be subjective, but you know, there are lots of like things that change over the period of time. So yes, it does have an impact, but that's like more of a historical approach. Pattern detection can be a useful tool for identifying triggers for behaviors in the future. So this kind of data helps us to have a kind of a futuristic decision making in place. The second one is the diagnostic analytics. So data scientists turn to this technique when trying to determine why something happened. So out of the data we have already in hand, and out of that descriptive analytics, what we do is we try to find out why this sales dip or why this collection dip happened, or why this particular. So what we do is that we present our data into the graphical format as well, and we study the patterns, the trends, and find out if there are certain points which are not normal as compared to the standards of the graphs, etc., etc. So that's more of a diagnostic thing. It also looks the backward part of that, yeah, the historic data, and focused on causal relationship and sequences. So cause and relationship analysis is conducted on this data, and the sequences are studied. Third one is the predictive analytics. The most commonly used technique these days. Predictive analytics uses models to forecast what might happen in specific scenarios. So the organizations, giving you a quick example, the organizations like the production organizations, etc. So what, based on the data they already have in hand, and the business intelligence data, which is like an environment data that comes into the organization. So what they do is they do some kind of a prediction. What if kind of scenarios are developed? So what if we increase the production by this much percentage? So what will be the impact on the overall working of the organization? What if we increase the price of one particular product? So how much revenue can be additionally made out of it? Or will it make a negative impact on the sales based on the previous price hikes you made for your own products? So these are a couple of examples which are in place in many of the organizations here in the country. So examples of predictive analytics include next best offers, risk of customer cancellation, and renewal risk analysis, etc., etc. So it's more of a forward-looking, that is like the futuristic approach, and description of predicted results based on probability distributions and likelihoods. The most powerful tool in this is being used is the what if analysis. That is, using the tools. We have lots of tools available for the data analytics, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, IBM, and then moving forward, then we have got like Tableau is one very powerful tool. You can develop your own tools. There are lots of web-based tools or the cloud-based tools available. But at least the organizations, a smaller organization or the public sector organizations, if you don't want to spend immediately on the technologies, you can start using Excel for these kind of analysis as well. I always say that Excel is the first analytics tool which an organization can actually implement. This technique looks the prescriptive analytics. This technique looks at answering a specific question. So once you're going forward, so what you do is that, okay, we are facing this kind of a problem. So that's a question for your organization. So what can be the solution for that? So that's like the prescriptive analytics. It helps to determine the best solution among a variety of choices. So what we do in these kind of prescriptive analytics, we do the option generation based on the data. We have the data analytics, then option selection. What we do is we narrow down the options available to 2-3 finalized options, and then finalize one best option and go for it for implementation. And the most important thing is that you need to know what are the parameters on which you will be prescribing particular solution. Example of prescriptive analytics for customer retention includes next best action, next best offer analysis. So you see these kind of analytics, most of the brands sending you some messages once they start the year-end sales or the season-end sales, etc. So they give the offers. The offers are majorly based on the data these days for the good organizations. The key characteristics of this approach are forward-looking and focused on optimal decisions for future situations, simple rules to complex models, and optimization and decision rules for future events. This is what is available in your workbook as well, but there are a few things which have started coming up new. So I added these things for your benefits. So the real-time analytics, that's like the very interesting thing, involves analyzing data as it is generated. So since we have like lots of information systems in organizations, ERPs, etc., where the data is live data, real-time data. So instead of that, you do these analytics, the 4 analytics types we discussed just now. Instead of that, you go through those analytics later on after a month or a weekend or whatever the frequency may be. You also have a watch on real-time analytics, which is like presented in the shape of real-time reports. So that helps you to make the quick operational decisions. So that helps you in enabling immediate insights and decision making, crucial for applications where timely responses are essential. To tell you, we had implemented it in power sector, such as financial trading. You see like all the stock exchange operations are based on these real-time analytics or monitoring industrial processes, production processes for that matter. Then we have data visualization. You have the data. So unless you present it in some format to the end users, to the decision makers, you cannot like have the real advantage of the historic data or the big data for your organization. So utilizes graphical representations, charts, graphs, dashboards to make complex data more accessible and understandable. So dashboards are the real advantage these days. Probably many of you might be using that as well. So dashboard is nothing new. That concept was actually taken from the vehicles, where you have from the on the driving side, where you have all the meters in front of you. The driver is not 100% focusing on the meters and all the time is actually looking at the road, but still all those meters are there in front of his eyes, so he can make decisions based on those dashboards. For example, if your RPM is going high, so you need to shift the gear. So that's a decision to be made based on some data coming out of that dashboard. So same kind of dashboards are developed for the organizations in there with reference to their data, where all your sales, purchases, revenue, regional sales, etc., you can dig deep down and up to the customer level or the product level or the individual SKU level, but you can have an overall picture of the whole organization as well, whether it is with reference to the finances or with reference to the HR or with reference to the production, sales, etc., etc. So that helps you to make the complex data more accessible and understandable, and enhances the ability to communicate findings and insights to a broader audience. So based on the data visualization, you can actually pass on the operational instructions to your management team. Scalability. Data analytics systems need to be scalable to handle increasing volumes of data efficiency. So what we do is we've got the technologies in the big data where we make it more scalable. So this scalability ensures that as the size of the data sets grows, the analytics infrastructures can handle the load without a significant loss of performance. So data is available. There's no problem these days for the organizations moving from 10 years data to 20 years data, but you need to make it scalable, whether it is with reference to your hardware as well as your methods and rules for the data visibility and the visuality. Any questions so far? May I ask? Is there any question or any query for that matter?
Understandable.
Thank you. Thank you. So should I turn my cam off as well, because that will help me to, yes. So big data, what does this mean? Big data describes data sets so large and varied, they are beyond the capability of traditional data processing. We all know that right in the beginning of the computer systems, we had data processing sections in our organizations, and they used to do the batch processing that was like a periodic processing. It still happens for the operational tasks, but big data is the kind of a technology that is out of the scope of the data processing. Rather, it is presenting the data each and every moment the data is available. So it means the data is coming from a wide variety of sources. It can be your transaction processing systems. It can be from your historic data. It can be from your e-commerce websites. It can be from your um, uh, vendors, from your resellers, whosoever is generating the data. So all that data is your source for the big data, and also environmental data as well, in a wide variety of forms, and there's a lots of it. So the reason it has become important is because it has allowed organizations to identify trends, patterns, and relationships for the first time. So all the data, what we try to do is try to create the usability of that for the organization. And last but not the least, the social media has started playing a very important role in this kind of data in the recent times. So example, over 2 billion people across the world use Facebook at least once a month. And when they post things on the Facebook platform, they're giving away a great deal of information about themselves, often without realizing it. As Napoleon said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Somebody's posting of a holiday snap can tell viewers a lot about their spending habits and interests. The picture may reveal what brands of clothes or jewelry they wear, and what their habits and interests are. Organizations across the globe are seeking ways to use this information to improve the effectiveness of their advertising campaigns. If a clothing firm, for instance, discovers that a lot of people visiting a particular country are seen wearing their clothes, then they may decide to pay for the names and addresses of people who have recently booked holidays in that country, and use direct mailing to advertise their products to those people. But of course, there's always someone somewhere trying to use information for less honest purposes. There have been many instances when people have posted holiday pictures on Facebook that have inadvertently included details of where they live, only to return home to discover their house has been burned. Yeah, that's like a very interesting scenario. But let me explain a couple of quick examples before we move forward. This kind of social media trends. So since I'm using Office 365, which is an online version of Microsoft Office. So since I was looking at the slides and the workbook to talk to you people today, which we are right now discussing. So these were the topics which, of course, were on my mind, and I was using my Microsoft Office for this purpose. So the moment I turned on to my YouTube for any purpose, so the selected videos were regarding big data, cybersecurity, etc., etc. So that's like the intelligence of the systems coming up. At the same time, while I was looking at some of the pictures, some of my friends who are currently in the World Economic Forum, So I commented on one of a friend's picture while he is attending the World Economic Forum. So all those people in my friends list who are currently at in Davos for World Economic Forum, उनके pictures मेरे सामने नजर आना शुरू हो गए on my Facebook and Instagram. So that's like how this big data is actually playing a role. So now let's discuss the 4 V's, the key features of big data. Certainly, again, for the benefit of your session, we'll be talking about the 4 V's. That's a part of your workbook as well. But in addition to that, what I've done is that I've added a couple of more things into this, which recently has become a part of the big data features. So that is an additional information which I'll be sharing with you to make you more understand. The first of the V's is the volume, the amount of data fed into the organization. So this could be huge, and it is huge, partly because of the speed with which data is being added to the store of data and on the system, and partly because of wide range of forms it comes in. So currently, the organizations are not only collecting their internal data with reference to the transaction processing systems they are having, but also lots of other data from the environment is also coming into the organization, and the organizations are making it as a part of their database. The second is the velocity. Considers the speed at which the data is fed into the organization. Well, my career span is like about 30 plus years. So when I started my technology career in 30 years back, or in fact more than that, so the data, the velocity of the data was like monthly or daily basis about a consumer, etc., etc. But now every second, a huge amount of data is generated and is fed to that organization, out of which they decide, okay, which one is the more beneficial for the organization. Do we have a comment or question? Okay. So this has been growing in recent years because of the increasing degree of interconnectivity in society, and that includes the social sites and the other forms of data as well. As we know that there's a lots of data and the information that is fed, whether we want it or not, but that is being fed to us by different information channels. The third of the V's is variety. Okay, there's someone's speaker which is on, mic which is on. So do you want to share something? Or? Okay. So variety considers the various formats of data received. For example, on Facebook, users can post photographs, comments, and recordings, and all forms are useful to a greater or lesser degree. So there's a variety of data that is available, and that's like about only one social site, but we all know that there are lots of social media channels right now. Veracity considers the reliability of the data received. So how much reliable that data is. We all know that with the introduction of the deep fake technologies in the recent times, even the pictures and the videos have become not reliable, not so reliable unless you are getting them from very authentic source, or you have recorded themselves or yourself for that matter. So using the example of Facebook, often doubt is cast upon some of the items that are posted there, since users may have their own agenda when posting things for others to see. So that's a very, very common thing these days, particularly with reference to all these social media channels we have. So authenticity has to be sure to be made sure while considering it as a useful data for the organization. So some of the more key features which are added for the consumption of yours. The first one out of that is the value. 4 V's are there. That's like a standard, but these are the most recent additions being considered by the data scientists. The goal of handling big data is to extract valuable insights and knowledge to support decision-making process. So unless you convert that data which you have gained, you convert that into a knowledge that is like the useful knowledge for your organization to make the decisions, there's no real advantage of having the big data. The value of big data lies in its ability to provide actionable information. So unless you make an action, knowledge does not play a very important role in the life of the organization. So that can lead to a better business decision, improved efficiency, and innovation. The second of these additional features is variability. Big data can exhibit variability in terms of data flow, both in terms of speed and volume. The amount of data generated may vary at different times. So what happens in what has started happening is that instead of having one big data, the organizations have started doing segmentation of the data to get this variability, so that instead of having one large set of data about its consumers, what they do is they do the segmentation like based on their spending habits, based on the dates, based on the regions. So we call them data marts, and within the big data, so we develop small marts. So that is more easily manageable. As the concept is exactly the same as you see in the marts, we develop different shelves, different corners, so that we can actually segment the different kind of items in that mart. So that same data is being done with reference to the data in the organizations. The complexity of big data arises from its size, diversity, and the need for sophisticated analysis techniques. So advanced tools and algorithms are often required to extract meaningful patterns and insights from complex data sets. So knowing that the data is becoming more and more complex, the technologies are being developed to solve this solution of complexity. And for that matter, both the hardware and the software technologies have been developed to resolve the issues of the complexity. So these were some of the additional features with reference to the big data. Now, the big data comes in two forms generally. The one is the structured data, which is generally your own collected data by the organization through your generally through your ERPs or your transaction processing systems, etc., etc. So that is like called structured data is deliberately produced and collected for a specific purpose, right? And therefore exhibits a clear, deliberate structure. It has been designed to achieve a desired objective, and as such will be likely to exhibit a logical and well thought out format, making it easier to process. Now, why we need structured data? Because we need day-to-day operational requirements. We have day-to-day decision-making requirements, whether that is operational decision-making or the strategic decision-making. So the purpose of that data is defined first, and then the data is arranged and the parameters are defined in such a manner that it can actually solve or address the purpose for which it is being collected and being used by the organizations. But then we have the unstructured data, on the other hand, has been put together without any thoughts as to the use to which it could be put. So we do not know right in the beginning the why we need data. And to tell you a bit about it, initially, like we are talking about that this big data technologies are now in use in the most recent times, in the last decade or so. It has only been possible because the technology has become available, one. Second, and it has become cost effective as well. Has the technology not uh, been the cost effective either, or not been available? So this unstructured data was totally out of question for the organizations. I can still recall, say 25 years ago or so, even for the structured data, we were very careful about what data to be stored and what data to be ignored. We never used to store the data which we never found that, okay, it can be of any bigger use within the organization, only because the technology was very limited. One. Second, the cost of that technology was very high. For example, again, you can relate it to your personal self. uh, Initial days, the mobile phones not having big memories, so we used to have like very limited number of telephone numbers stored in our phone books. And nowadays, once we have large amount of memories available within the handsets, so what we do is each time we need to find some particular document, instead of trying to find it from already downloaded in your handsets or even on your laptops or your desktops, what we do is we know that the source was somewhere on a website or in an email. So we download it again for the quicker purposes, because the technology is available, the space is available, and second, the space is not very costly. We can always increase the space for the storage of data. So that is what has led the organizations to have a storage of even the unstructured data, and that generally includes social media posts and likes. Are an example of this. While it is more difficult to analyze such data, its candor is perhaps more likely to reveal the individual's true views and opinions than a formal questionnaire. In fact, these days, the organizations in the worldwide, while they are hiring new people within their organization, so they do not rely on the data that has been provided by the applicant through the structured form, whether that is online or paper-based form. Rather, they go through their social media linkages as well. Particularly in Gulf, unless you have a LinkedIn profile, you cannot find out a good employment. So that's like the organizations are doing. So big data analytics is the often complex process of examining big data to uncover information, such as hidden patterns, correlations, market trends, and customer preferences that can help organizations make informed business decisions. So it's like based on the data we have. Let me just share an example. Um, there's an organization involved in the construction. Uh, it's a large size construction company, uh, high-rise buildings, etc. They have offices throughout the country: Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad, Peshawar, Pindi, and few others as well, Multan maybe. So they have different teams working there. So they always have the first-hand information of all the offices, wherever, or even all the construction sites where their projects are going on, about the raw material costing, etc., etc. But apart from that, on continuous basis, they are actually collecting the unstructured data from the market, even if there is no construction going on right now. But even then, they will have the market price mechanism about the raw material or related to their own businesses. So So they need to know about the market trends, and they make decisions that, okay, the trend is that in one particular season or in one particular month, the price of that particular raw material goes down or it is more stable. So that is where they, in fact, make a decision that if they have the financial resources available and the storage space available, they have all that data in place. So they ask their business offices to procure that raw material in that particular month. They have got like a big team to do this kind of data collection all the time. Right? Every single day they collect the cost of the raw materials related to their businesses. So that's like what helps you to do a better decision making with reference to your businesses. Understanding the potential value of data and its significance to an organization presents a real opportunity to gain unique insight about an organization's market, its customers, products, and customers. This can be used to improve competitive position and potentially gain competitive advantage over rivals. I've given you one such example. So let's like discuss an example or an exercise that is mentioned in your workbooks. Business consultants, McKinsey, identified the following benefits an organization can realize from effective data analytics. Fresh insight and understanding, seeing underlying patterns through the intelligent use of data can reveal patterns and insights into how a business operates, revealing issues that they may not have known existed. So by having insight and understanding of the big data, so they can even come up with the issues which in fact otherwise do not know. It certainly helps you to improve the performance, the whole organization performance. Data processed and sorted into relevant management information in real time can lead to significant operational gains and improved decision makings and resource utilization. Whether it is about the material resources or the human resources, organizations these days in their HR data analytics have started studying the patterns of the people with reference to their productivity. So they try to find out, okay, which are the hours when the people are more productive and which are the hours where they are less productive. So they adjust their break times, their overall business times, production times, etc., with reference to those data that is available. So that helps to do their performance improvement. Certainly, it is more easier with reference to the materials in the mission race, but for the human resources, it plays a very vital role. Then you have market segmentation and customization. What you do is that you do the market segmentation of your products. What is popular in the urban areas, in one particular sect of the urban area of that particular city, and in the rural areas, and then the customization according to the cultural things, according to the classes of the society, etc., etc. Defining customer groups into even more specific segments, age groups, gender groups, etc., and understanding the wants and needs of those groups can lead to increased personalization and customization of products and the services. You know, the websites, the e-commerce websites, which are dealing with the products which are more related to the youth. So they actually prepare their site, the whole website concept based on the patterns that are being used by the youth more commonly rather than the people of middle age or bigger age. So decision making, Real-time information that is relevant can lead to faster decisions and decisive advantage over competitors. So any organization does not matter that if you have large data, but unless you convert that data into an in real-time information that can lead you to a faster decision making, will give you a competitive advantage over your competitors, rather than if you have a large data but you do not have an insight, real-time insight, so that will give you no gain. Innovation. We all know that what we cannot do is, particularly in usage of the technology, then we cannot remain silent for a period of time. I mean, what we need to do is that we need to keep on innovating every single moment. So there are lots of trends which are changing every day. Existing products can be improved from understanding the features and elements that customers enjoy and use. This can also lead to the development of whole new products. And we all know that the recent times, the new products have been developed around the trends which are happening, and especially the food industry now is more revolving around the delivery channels rather than just the quality of their presence and the quality of their products, for that matter. Last but not the least, the risk management and control are vital in the effective running of any organization. The use of data can enhance all the stages of the risk management processes. We all know that for managing the risk, the biggest of the opportunities lie in the qualitative and the quantitative risk analysis, and the both qualitative and the quantitative risk analysis can easily be done once you have this kind of a data available. So once you are been able to do that analysis of the risks in hand, so then it will lead you to develop a mitigation strategy for the risk management as well. Probably these are the slides which are probably not properly arranged. So this was the exercise and these were the solutions. I'm sorry for that. Give some examples of how a large supermarket chain can make use of the data analytics. So this was the question in hand, and we in fact discussed the solutions first. So extremely sorry for that. It was just misarranged. Anyways, so you can read these questions later on, and the solutions we've already discussed. Any questions so far? Any comments, questions? So we can have an insight.
Sir, clear hai.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So benefits of big data and data analytics. Improve efficiency. I always say that this is the one thing that automatically comes once you start using the data for the organization. Certainly, we are talking about the technology-based data, big data management, and big data analytics. Once you implement the technology in your organization, so certainly it will bring in the efficiency, because we all know that these ICTs are efficient as compared to the human-based processes. So big data tools can improve operational efficiency by interacting with customers, clients, and gaining their valuable feedback. Big data tools can amass large amounts of useful data that can identify products and processes that are not adding value to the customer. So it helps you to identify both the products or the services which are good in the eyes of your customers or are not good in the eyes of your customers. By having these surveys, by having these social media feedbacks, the likes on the posts of your Insta or your Facebook or any other channel for that matter. And the recent addition in the social media has been the WhatsApp communities and the channels. So which are becoming more popular amongst the customers and amongst the product owners and the product users for that matter. Certainly B2B organizations are using it more in a better manner, but these channels will certainly become a kind of a replacement of some other social media channels for that matter. But that helps you to do the improved efficiency, immediate response from your customers on your data, surveys, messages, announcements through any channel for that matter, and turning it into a walk-in customer or footfall helps you to do the real analysis of the big data. Foster competitive pricing. Big data analytics facilitates real-time monitoring of the market and your competitors. I've given you already an example. You can not only keep track of the past actions of your competitors, but also see what strategies they are adopting now. The best example that can be quoted over here is the telcos in Pakistan. All the telecom companies, once they start their campaigns, whether there's an event, for example, Eid coming in or Ramadan coming in, or a World Cup of any sport, or particularly the cricket coming in. So every kind of telecom company will be announcing their campaigns with reference to the packages, etc., etc. So they analyze, they discuss, okay, who is doing what, and they come up with their own strategies, knowing that they need to remain competitive with reference to the others, because that's a very small market. Only 4 or 5 players are there in the market. But same goes true for the utilities and for the groceries and the clothing, etc., etc., all these supermarkets, etc. So they also adopt these kind of strategies. The season end sales or the occasional sales. So everyone is like revolving around the similar kind of the strategy for that matter, because they want to remain competitive. You can not only keep the track of the past actions of your competitors, but also see what strategies they are adopting now. Real-time data has long been used by airlines in their dynamic pricing models, where ticket prices are constantly updated with reference to the demand and time to the flight. That's like another very interesting example. Not only this, but also with the advent of the organizations like Airbnb, the booking.com, where they are giving you the options to book the hotels or the living spaces for that matter. So those also adopting these kind of technologies. So there are so many other sectors. I've given you the one or two examples. So that's like electronics is another area, and particularly in Pakistan, where everyone is like trying to copy one another, or trying to come up with their own strategies, which are competitive to the other competitors as well. Continuing with that, benefits of the big data and data analytics boost sales and retain customers' loyalty. So one big challenge for retailers, particularly, and the other organizations these days, has become the customer loyalty. There used to be, like, we as the consumers, we used to be very loyal to some of the brands or some of the products, etc. But now in the recent times, with the advent of so many channels to purchase, etc., we have become more convenience oriented. So what we do is that instead of like going to a grocery store where we know that we have been going from last 10 years or so, or it's a family grocery store. We prefer that, okay, and especially the seasonal, the kind of cold weather we have these days, or kind of the hot weather we get in the summers. The households prefer that they go online and order the groceries. That is coming out of the convenience more rather than anything else. Earlier, the loyalty used to be there with the reference to their brands, the products, the quality, the pricing, etc., etc. So big data aims to gather and analyze, but it also provides the opportunity to you as an organization or seller. To big data aims to gather and analyze vast volumes of customer data. That the digital footprints that customers leave behind reveal a great deal about their preferences, needs, buying behavior, etc., etc. And based on that, they're using two kind of technologies for this purpose. The one is the pull technology. If you go yourself online and try to find of similar kind of products or the services, so you keep on selecting based on your preferences. And then there's a push technology coming up where, for example, if I go on any online store, try to buy one particular product, I search that product, I add that particular product into my cart. So it immediately responds me, the people who have bought this product have also bought. So there's a list of the products that is shown by that particular web portal that, okay, these are the products which might interest you as well. So that is like how the organizations are actually increasing their sales by having the patrons. We tend to buy more in these scenarios when you use the push technologies. Innovate, it helps you to innovate. Big data analytics and tools can dig into vast data sets to extract valuable insights, which can be transformed into actionable business strategies and decisions. These insights are the key to innovation. Okay, so what are the trends which are coming up? What is the feedback that has been provided by the customers or the prospective customers? So they that helps you to innovate your products. There's a question. Ji, someone raised the hand. Harun sir. Ji, Harun sir. If you're saying something, it's not audible, or alternatively, you can type in your question if you have in the chat. If you have any question, if you do not have any question, okay. Right. So innovate, that is also like one of the advantages you get out of it. Control and monitor online reputation. As an increasing number of businesses are shifting towards the online domain, we all know that the e-commerce has become a real game changer. It has become increasingly crucial for companies to check, monitor, and improve their online repute, right? So what is the feedback by the people plays a very vital role. And that is why we know that the organizations which, without having a detailed consideration of the advantages and the disadvantages of this e-commerce era, they jump into this e-commerce, they tend to close more quickly than the organizations which already have like lots of experience of the businesses, and they now jump into the e-commerce portal or online presence as well. So uh, think about how these factors are used by the supermarkets. Supermarkets are the real, uh, actually the users of these big data analytics with reference to everything we have discussed in the recent. With reference to supply chain, there's one very interesting example which I can quote. Uh, in the recent advent, when there was a World Cup football a couple of years back, probably, so the supermarkets, there's a craze of football in the European world. So in the supermarkets, while they placed their eatables or the food items in one shelf, one of the superstores placed the Pampers in the next very shelf, only because that if the person who is actually buying the eatables or the quick food items for themselves while they wanted to watch the football match on the television sets, so the Pampers are placed there, so they, if they have infants or the children, so the smaller children in their home, so what they want is that if they're missing the Pampers, that's the society where both the male and the female are responsible for taking care of the children, so they can actually buy the Pampers so that they can actually watch the match uninterruptible. And there's a case study that Supermart sold more Pampers than any other supermart for that matter. So that's like how you can actually innovate even in your supply chains. So now let's discuss the risks of big data and data analytics. While it's presenting lots of advantages, it also comes up with some of the risks and the challenges. Uh, The first of that is that the organizations adopting the big data and the data analytics only because the people are doing it. That's like the big challenge. So lack of proper understanding of big data and data analytics is the first of the risks and the challenge. Companies risk failing in their big data initiatives due to insufficient knowledge and experience about what are the advantages of the big data analytics and how we will be actually addressing those things. While senior management may recognize the generic benefits of big data for their organization, they may not be they may not be clear about the cost benefit payoff in every instance. Big data, as it appeals a lot, but this is a cost intensive activity, right? There's a lots of investment on the resources. There's a lots of investment on the people in your technology sector as well as on your other business processes. So unless you can actually make an ROI out of that for that matter, you should not be investing into this big data analytics. You need to make an ROI plan and a roadmap for the implementation of the big data analytics. So what are the key strategic questions which we will be addressing through this big data and the big data analytics, and what real advantages it will bring to my organization, and how I can actually measure it in terms of the dollars and the cents. That's important. Unless you are not been able to measure it in dollars and the cents, the usage of the big data and the data analytics, the investment in this particular sector is not the real advantage. The second of the challenges and the risk is that, yes, since this is becoming a very vast field, there's a serious lack of data analysis professionals. Any young grad cannot be a real good data analytic professional only because he has learned it in its degree program or has gained a certification. It requires lots of business acumen, one. Second, and it requires understanding of the data for which that person is being used in that particular organization, the type of the organization we are. GT. So that is like the big challenge. So the data professionals are very scarce, and since this is being used by the world, so there's a lots of demand, and the availability of the resources is not that big. So run these modern technologies and the big data tools. Companies need skilled data professionals. These professionals include data scientists, data analysts, and data engineers, and their skills are in increasing demand. And this is like perhaps the one big challenge for every organization these days. The second of the big challenge or risk is the security of the data. We all know that the security is a big concern, even for the individuals, and as an organization, it has become a real challenge. Securing huge data sets in one of the main is one of the main challenges of big data. Often companies are so busy in understanding, storing, and analyzing their data sets that they fail to pay sufficient attention to the issue of data security. We'll be talking about the data security towards the end in detail as well. So unprotected data repositories can become an attractive target for malicious hackers. Breaches of security can have significant consequences for companies in the form of fines, litigation, and reputational damage. And we all know that, particularly with reference to the banking sector, once we hear of any hacking attack, etc., so that particular bank becomes a real problem issue for the customers. Unorganized data, a significant problem for businesses that it's overwhelming for enterprises to tackle unorganized and siloed data sets effectively, meaning that it may be difficult to find the useful data sets amongst all the noise. So we have like the other data apart from the structured data. So that data, if you are using it, so what is the purpose of that? That needs to be actually made sure. The next of the topics is the cloud computing. So cloud computing is what? It's another big thing coming up, is the practice of using a network of remote servers hosted on the internet to store, manage, and process data rather than a local server or a personal computer. The basic idea and application of cloud computing sees user logs into an account in order to access, manage, and process files and software via remote servers hosted on the internet. This replaces the traditional method of owning and running software locally on a computer or networked server. So the real advantage has become is that instead of investing in your own resources, you are using the advantage of the cloud. Two main types of the cloud setups: the public cloud, where cloud services are provided by a third party. G, there's a question, please.
सर ये क्या सिर्फ सर्वर को यानी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पर ले लेना वो क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग होगा?
अभी हम कुछ ही देर में इसकी मुख्तलिफ ऑप्शंस डिस्कस करेंगे. सर्वर भी एक क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग की ऑप्शन है, एंड देन देयर आर अदर ऑप्शंस एज वेल. सो अभी हम 2-3 मिनट में इसको डिस्कस कर रहे हैं.
सर जी.
So there's a public cloud where cloud services are provided by a third-party company. These are specialist companies that sell their services to a range of clients over the public internet. Google Cloud is one of the best examples of public cloud. Then we have the private clouds, sees the IT services provided over a private network, typically for the use of a single organization and can be managed internally. Private clouds would normally be limited to very large organizations with the resources required to establish and maintain these systems in-house. The perfect example is Nadra is hosting a private cloud for many of these services they are offering to the government of Pakistan. Punjab Information Technology Board is another example which they are providing to the public sector organizations of the province Punjab. The third example is the power sector, where we have the private cloud for the whole power sector in the country, rather than going for a public-based cloud. Types of cloud computing. So now, Madam Munazza, this addresses your question. So there are three types: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, right? So these are the three types that can be used. Infrastructure as a service, that is particularly the one example you were saying, that it refers to what we call only the hardware part, right? So the whole, instead of that you have your own hardware, you use the hardware being provided by any cloud provider, and you run your own application software and own services onto that particular hardware. So you are not investing in the hardware, rather you are using the investment of someone else. The best example is there are companies in the world who provide this kind of hardware. There are a couple of them in Pakistan as well who provide all these kind of services to the companies if they are looking in for. It includes the printing services as well. So it's all about all the infrastructure you are talking about. Then you have platform as a service. So then you have like a general purpose application software that is available for the users. So that platform, which includes the hardware, the operating system, the database, and the rest of the services. So it is relatively a specialized approach that is being used by the organization as a cloud. The last but not the least is software as a service. So instead of that, you even invest in the application software of yours, you use software of someone else at their platform, at their infrastructure. The only thing you own is your data. For example, Gmail or iCloud, and most of the ERPs have started working on it, that instead of that you pay the license fees of the ERPs, etc. Rather, you use their software. The one very good example is the web HR, is the locally developed HR ERP kind of a solution, where they say that, okay, you use our software on cloud and you have your own data set in at our place. So probably that answers your question. Yes, there's a question. Google Drive is SaaS. Yes, to some extent, yes. It's like not exactly software as a service. It's a storage. It's a more of a platform as a service. So since that is only being used for the storage, so that's like, it's not SaaS. SaaS is more of where you have some processing capability as well. So it's not processing capability. It's just the storage capability. Characteristics of cloud computing. Flexibility and scalability. The organization has the ability to increase or reduce the data storage and processing capacity. So what we do is generally, as a strategy, we go on to the upscaling technology. Rather, for example, if we want to use any kind of like software as a service, so what we do is we go for minimum approach in the beginning, 2-3 users, and then we keep on increasing as and when required. Then you have the metered services. Cloud computing service is usually metered, and organizations only pay for the services they have used, right? The amount of packets you have transacted, the amount of data you have stored, the amount of instances you are using. So that is like the measured services. So these you pay as you grow. Remote processing, the processing and storage of data is carried out at the premises of the cloud computing provider. So there's nothing in-house for you. Gives you lots of advantages. So these are like few more details. I would ask you people to please read out these things. Okay, now there are a couple of questions, so please.
सर ये
जी,
जो
I'm waiting.
प्लेटफॉर्म एज अ सर्विस है, इसकी मिसालें थोड़ी सी बता दें।
Platform as a service, जैसे Google Drive is a platform as a service. Or for example, there's one very quick example. सुई सदरन गैस कंपनी सॉफ्टवेयर अपना है, प्रोसेसिंग खुद करते हैं, और उन्होंने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और प्लेटफॉर्म दोनों आउटसोर्स किए हुए हैं। IBM का एक सब्सिडरी है वहां पे कराची में। सो व्हाट दे डू इज, जो प्रोसेस्ड डेटा है वो ट्रांसफर हो जाता है उस प्लेटफॉर्म के ऊपर, वेयर दे हैव the application to some extent अपनी ही बनी हुई उनकी एप्लीकेशन। सो बिल प्रिंटिंग वो सारी की सारी वहां पे होती है, और डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी चूंकि उन्होंने आउटसोर्स की हुई है, तो वही कंपनी की एक और सब्सिडरी है जो बिल्स की डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, यूटिलिटी बिल्स की डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जो है वो वहां से कर रही होती है। सो इट्स अ प्लेटफॉर्म जिसमें डेटाबेस भी वो प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, उसमें प्रिंटिंग का सोल्यूशन भी वो प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि वो बड़ी स्पेशलाइज्ड प्रिंटिंग है जो उनके उस बिल फॉर्म के अकॉर्डिंगली है। लेकिन प्रोसेसिंग कैपेबिलिटी सारी की सारी उनकी अपने पास है, वो क्लाउड पे नहीं है, बट दे आर यूजिंग दैट प्लेटफॉर्म एज वेल एज द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तो ऑटोमेटिकली आ ही जाता है उसके अंदर।
सर इसके साथ रिस्क कौन से इन्वॉल्व होंगे?
we'll be talking about SAP system is a SaaS. This is a question. SAP can be your on premises as well, but SAP has started offering their services as a SaaS model as well, right? Both SAP as well as Oracle, or in many other application ERP application software as well. जी, हम अभी challenges और risks वो भी डिस्कस करते हैं। So if there is no other question, so let's move to the next thing.
जी
और
सर।
ये जो मैंने कहा आपको कि ये आप प्लीज रीड आउट कर लीजिएगा, ये मैंने थोड़ा थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन सबको कर दिया। क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग के यूजेजेस क्या है? क्लाउड स्टोरेज है, डिजास्टर रिकवरी है, डेटा बैकअप है। जहां पे हमें एक्सेस मिल रही है वहां पे हमें एक बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज मिल रहा है कि हम स्टोरेज कॉस्ट से बच रहे हैं। द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज दैट हैज बिकम फॉर द टेक्नोलॉजी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस और फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस रिवॉल्विंग अराउंड टेक्नोलॉजी हैज बिन द स्टोरेज कॉस्ट। प्रोसेसिंग कॉस्ट फिर भी कहीं ना कहीं मैनेज हो जाती है, बट एज द डेटा इज ग्रोइंग, वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स द बिग डेटा, द स्टोरेज इज बिकमिंग अ रियल चैलेंज। सो हर साल, 1.5 साल, 2 साल बाद आपको एडिशनल स्टोरेज ऐड करना पड़ती है, और फिर उस स्टोरेज की वजह से बहुत सारे चैलेंजेस, प्रोक्योरमेंट, मैनेजमेंट, एटसेट्रा। सो the organizations have started using the cloud storage that offers you to the possibility of storing your files and assessing, storing and retrieving them from any web-based interface. इसमें ओपन सोर्सेज भी अवेलेबल हैं जो फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट, मैं और आप जिस तरह से अभी हमने गूगल की बात की, या माइक्रोसॉफ्ट भी अवेलेबल करता है, और आई क्लाउड एक और एग्जांपल है जिसमें एप्पल वाले ऑप्शन देते हैं। उसके अलावा भी आप यू कैन बाय द स्टोरेज एज वेल, इवन गूगल ऑफर्स यू बिग स्टोरेज ऑन पेमेंट। The second is which is perhaps the most important, which is disaster recovery. The challenge these days is that what if we have in-house and we face a challenge, any kind of a failure challenge, could be hacking, could be a fire kind of a situation, could be loss of a hardware out of any natural disaster or any other disaster for that matter. So how will we recover the data? Because data has become the real gold. Disaster, once you have stored that somewhere else, so the what you do is that you shift the responsibility to the person who is actually managing your cloud as well, right? So that is like what is the one of the biggest advantages. By the way, PTCL also offers PTCL, yes, PTA and PTCL both offer their cloud services to the public sector organizations as well. The data backup, the data being stored on the remote location means that the cloud computing provider can perform the backup procedures on regular basis, and what that is what they do. So retailers and suppliers are now extracting information derived from consumers' buying patterns to target their advertising and make marketing campaigns to a particular segment of the population. Social networking platforms are now providing the basis of analytics on behavioral patterns that organizations are using to derive meaningful information. And much of the data provided may not often be in the form of videos and photos, both of which take up a huge amount of storage. The data is being uploaded onto social media platforms by in some cases billions of people every day. So the volume, velocity, and variety of data is enormous. Without access to the cloud, many organizations would struggle to capture, store, and interpret this kind of data. So that's the best example where the social data is being used for the organizational advantages. What are the benefits? The real benefit is that you do not need to have the upfront cost, the capital cost. The organization does not have to invest in the capex. Maintenance, you do not need to have the maintenance part of the infrastructure, and the training and the recruitment. The organization does not have to train specific or specialized staff to maintain all this infrastructure. It's not only about the computers, it's about the power as well, the alternative power channels, the availability, the internet network, etc., etc. So all these things are very important with reference to infrastructure. In addition, the organization has access to the specialist expertise of the staff on the cloud computing provider. So it's not only as and when you face a question, it's 24/7 availability. So the services are being provided by the cloud provider. The management of the organization are freed up to concentrate on their core activities, that is their business activities. And by using the services of the cloud computing provider, an organization will have access to the latest developments as well. Once if you have in-house infrastructure, so each and every time a new hardware or a software update or any other thing comes in, you'll need to update at your own cost, as compared to the cloud provider will have to keep it doing because it is their business. So the flexibility of the services provided means that should the organization need more capacity, it can acquire just as much as it needs. So they offer you, like many of the cloud providers, they offer you packages like, okay, minimum, mid-range, more package, and then specialized package as you require. So that gives you a lot of flexibility and scalability, should allow an organization to match its cloud costs and its needs. I know the organizations who do that on seasonal basis as well. Once their businesses, season-based businesses are working, so what they do is they get more space, otherwise they try to minimize the space. The security of the data is greater, both in terms of cybersecurity and physical security. So certainly, since this is the business of that particular cloud provider, so what advantage they get is they in fact ensure the 100% security of the services as well. Now let's talk about the risks. Some of the advantages are also the risks as well. Internet connectivity, should there be a breakdown in the internet connectivity, you have problem, so you are not been able to connect to your own data, as compared to if you have the resources within the organization. So even if the internet connectivity is not there, you are been able to gain at least a minimal access to your resources, and you run your bare minimum operations within your own organization. In security, while it is true that the cloud computing provider will have an incentive to stay up to the date in respect of upcoming threats, hackers know that there is likely to be a greater opportunity to gain access to the sensitive information. देखिए, आपकी एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का को टारगेट करना हैकर के लिए शायद बहुत एडवांटेजियस नहीं होगा, लेकिन once the hacker knows that there is a cloud on which you have the data of 10 organizations, so that's like a big advantage to the hacker as well. And if they have been able to penetrate, so the problem arises for you as well, because it's your data. At the same time, availability के reference से, continuity of operations के reference से, should the cloud computing provider go out of business for whatever reason, could be a disaster at their end, whatever the reason may be, the organization faces the risk of not being able to access or process data while an alternative provider is found. In addition to that, there are a couple of examples. So if there's an attack, a hacking attack on one of your service providers, so your concern is that when it will be available, you want it to be available quickly. But for them, the provider, you are just another business organization. They are providing these services to 25 organizations, all are down. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to retrieve their services. Once they retrieve their services, they'll be start giving the access to the organizations one by one. So they do not consider you be the prime customer for them. So that's like one of the challenges as well in case, but that challenge can be overcome once you are selecting your cloud provider, how good that be for, and you can have a good contract with them for this purpose. So hopefully that answers some of the challenges. You are the finance manager of a large bank. This is an exercise, and it has been suggested that cloud technology could be used to reduce costs. Discuss the arguments against implementing cloud computing in this instance. So these are some of the solutions. Should we read them out or you read them yourselves?
सर डिस्कस कर लें थोड़ा सा.
ओके, बैंक्स का अगर आप पाकिस्तान में सिनारियो भी देखें तो वो प्राइवेट क्लाउड पे इसीलिए चल रहे हैं. दे हैव देयर प्राइवेट क्लाउड, और उसमें स्टेट बैंक ने बहुत रेगुलेटली अच्छा किया हुआ है उनको सबको. So there are a number of reasons why cloud computing may not be an appropriate thing. As a major bank, we would be known all over the world for the security of our operations and the trustworthiness of our staff. Our reputation is of the utmost importance to us, and we need to be very careful about allowing any other party to damage our good name. To make use of cloud computing means that we are placing our security in the hands of another organization, and we would have to trust that they will not let us, or more importantly, our customers down. Should there be any lapse in security, our reputation would be ruined, possibly irreparably, and the long-term implications would be enormous. There has been incidences. मैं क्विकली अगर एग्जांपल दूं कि जहां पे एक दो बैंक्स की चाहे अपना ही प्राइवेट क्लाउड था, लेकिन जब कोई अटैक आया या कोई र्यूमर भी फैली तो बिलियंस के अकाउंट्स जो हैं लोगों ने विड्रॉ कर लिए. जब वो रिस्टोर हुआ तो बिलियंस के अकाउंट्स विड्रॉ करके मूव कर गए टू अदर बैंक्स. सो बैंक्स आर वेरी रिस्की for that matter. As a major bank, we have invested considerable sums of money in our own cybersecurity systems. We have a large and experienced team of IT professionals. So if you have in-house infrastructure, in-house availability of everything, yes, then this should not be the reason. That's why, quickly giving you an example, Pakistan में State Bank ने banks को पाबंद किया हुआ है कि वो सर्टिफाइड इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम ऑडिटर्स रखें, सर्टिफाइड इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी मैनेजर्स रखें, स्पेशलाइज्ड लोग रखें, और उस पे उन्होंने मल्टीपल टीयर्स में इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की हुई है। वन लिंक जो है वो सिर्फ लिंक प्रोवाइडिंग, कनेक्टिविटी प्रोवाइडिंग कंपनी है। डेटा होस्ट उनकी अपनी सर्विसेज हैं, बैंक्स की, तमाम बैंक्स की। और एप्लीकेशन होस्टिंग एक थर्ड पार्टी सर्विस है जो उनके प्रेमिसेस पे कर रही होती है। सो मल्टीपल टीयर्स हैं, तो बहुत अच्छा सोल्यूशन इसलिए बना हुआ है। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अपने रिक्रूटमेंट क्विकली डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ, अपने रिक्रूटमेंट प्रोसेस में अपनी साइबर सिक्योरिटी को जो है वो इनकलकेट करके उनको बता सकता है। वो चाहे आईटी प्रोफेशनल्स हों या नॉन आईटी प्रोफेशनल, कोर बैंकिंग प्रोफेशनल्स हों, उनको साइबर सिक्योरिटी के ट्रेनिंग्स और सारा कुछ दे के इंश्योर कर सकता है कि वो अपना इन हाउस जो है उसको सिक्योर कर सके। Our services are demanded from our customers 24/7, and any interruption to this service would immediately be made known in the press. Certainly, the talk of the town ban jati hai. The effect on our good name would be immense. The fact that using a cloud-based provider adds an extra degree of internet connectivity only makes it more likely that something will break down. The transfer of operations to a cloud-based provider will be difficult, with a great potential for things to go wrong. Any cloud computing provider would only have been in business for little more than 10 years. Should they go out of business, it would mean that we would have to go through a difficult transition process again, with all possibilities. Just a second. All possible interruptions of services, etc., etc. And we have seen this in the recent times in some of the organizations, though they have their in-house. So now let's talk about what is cyber risk and security. We all know that this is perhaps one of the biggest challenges of the recent times, as we are getting more and more connected, as we are getting more and more online. So the cybersecurity has become a real challenge. Cyber risk means any risk. Okay, so there's a demand of break. For me, the time is 11:15. So 10 minutes.
जी सर, इट्स ओके।
10 मिनट ज्यादा होगी, 5-6 मिनट की करें। लोगों को कहें कि ये कनेक्टेड रहें ताकि दोबारा लोगों को कनेक्ट होने में मुश्किल ना आए।
Right. So 5 minutes, as Gulsab said. So 11:20. It's 11:14. 11:20 will be back. I am online and not turning off. So just muting myself.
जी ठीक है सर।
Yeah.
Yes, we can start it.
Okay, Ji. So cyber risk means any risk of financial loss, disruption, or damage to the reputation of an organization from some sort of failure for its information technology systems. Common forms of cyber risks include ransomware. This type of malicious software, malware, is designed to prevent an organization accessing its data or indeed entire computer system until a sum of money is paid. So this has become a real talk of the town these days. Lots of ransomware attacks have been made in the world, and lots of local organizations have also been breached. We'll be talking about how to overcome this. Phishing is in this process, a criminal posing as a trustworthy contact tries to extract sensitive information from the employee of the organization. The contact should be, could be in the form of a phone call or email or a text message. So that's like, it looks like we do get lots of emails like it is coming in from your own bank, or a message coming in from your bank, or your call coming in from your own bank, लेकिन वो होती नहीं. So in 2017, an attack using a malware called Vanacroy shut down more than 80 NHS organizations in England, causing 20,000 cancelled appointments, leading to doctors, that is about the health services, national health services, to doctors having to resort the use of pen and paper as their computer systems were inaccessible. So that's like one example. Recent times में इंडिया में भी इसी तरह का एक हेल्थ सर्विसेज के ऊपर अटैक आया 2023 के एंड में, अक्टूबर में. So that's like very common. You're working from home one day, and on checking your phone, realize that you have received a new voicemail message. You listen to it and are startled to realize it is from someone claiming to be from Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, stating that a warrant has been issued for your arrest because of non-payment of taxes. If you responded to the call, what things could the caller be likely to ask for? This relatively straightforward question is designed to get you thinking about the way in which you could approach questions about IT security. IT affects us all, and we all have an enormous experience of how it is used and sometimes abused in the workplace. If you were to reply to the contact, the sort of things that would ask for would be those details that would be useful for them if they wanted to, say, contact your bank and take money from your account. So what are the sort of things your bank would ask you if they wanted to make sure you were who you said you were? So हमें पता है कि वो क्या कुछ पूछा जाता, full name, date of birth, bank account details, any regular payments of out of your account, such as standing orders or direct debits, mother's maiden name. So ये private information होती है, full address including postcode. इसमें कुछ public information होती है, कुछ private information होती है जो हमेशा बैंक legally भी आपसे पूछता है. तो normally ऐसी anonymous calls के ऊपर private information कभी भी share नहीं की जाती. Other common forms of risks include hacking, refers to unauthorized individuals trying to gain access to your organizational data by pretending to be someone they are not, such as by guessing passwords, etc. We'll be talking about that. Data leakage. This refers to the accidental or deliberated act of revealing of data and information to unauthorized parties. खासतौर पे पेपर फॉर्मेट का डेटा और सॉफ्ट फॉर्मेट का डेटा. दैट इज व्हाई कि मोस्ट रीसेंट टाइम्स के अंदर यूएसबीज और इस तरह की चीजों को जो है वो अब डिस्करेज किया जाता है. Insider threat, perhaps the biggest threat. Employees will privy to details that could be of use to external entities. The insider threat is that those individuals could reveal information to external parties either intentionally or by accident. खास तौर पे IT employees are the biggest risk because उनके पास सबसे ज्यादा access है. Your top management is also वो ignorant होते हैं कि कौन सी information किस तरह secure करनी है. So these are the ways of internal threats. Denial of service attack. The attack aims to overwhelm a system resources so that it cannot respond to legitimate requests from innocent users. So what happens is कि एक attack आता है आपके resources के ऊपर और आपको वो access available नहीं रहती, वो सारी की सारी access reroute हो जाती है. Man in the middle attack, the criminal intercepts the communication between the organization and its legitimate contacts in order to spy on the victims and steal confidential information from either party. So what happens is कि वो overcome कर लेते हैं communication technologies को, sorry, and by doing that वो बहुत सारी information leakage हो जाती है. SQL attack, structured query language attack. मैं क्विकली थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन कर दूं। हम अपने रिसोर्सेज के ऊपर एसक्यूएल को अवेलेबल रखते हैं, क्योंकि हमें खुद भी क्यूरीज करनी होती हैं अपनी डेटाबेस के साथ कि हमें कोई लीगलाइज्ड इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए। उसके लिए एक टेक्निकल टर्म यूज होती है कि वो जो पोर्ट ऑफ दैट हार्डवेयर है वो ओपन रखनी होती है। जब वो पोर्ट ओपन है तो वो जनरली जो हैकर्स हैं, जो अटैकर्स हैं, वो भी फिर उस पोर्ट को एक्सेस करने की कोशिश करते हैं, ऑल्दो वो पासवर्ड एंड अदर चीजों की प्रोटेक्शन होती है। सो इफ बाय एक्सीडेंट दे आर बीन एबल टू गेन एक्सेस, तो दे कैन डायरेक्टली गेन एन एक्सेस टू योर डेटाबेस, यानी डायरेक्टली डेटा को वो एक्सेस कर लेते हैं, जहां पे फिर वो रीड तो कर ही लेते हैं, दे कैन डिलीट, स्टील, मैनिपुलेट or whatever they want to do. But this is one of the very big threat these days. So what is this security? Is the means by individuals and organizations reduce the risk of the cyber attack. There's no security which can be termed as 100%. Well, we always try to reach to the 99.99999%, and for that we need to make sure that we implement all those possible ways of reducing the risk. हम हमेशा एक ही हमारा अल्टीमेट गोल होता है, टू ट्राइंग टू मिनिमाइज द रिस्क्स। ठीक है, सो एक नॉर्मली टर्म यूज करते हैं हम CIA, which is confidentiality, integrity and availability. Systems should be designed to prevent unauthorized access by those parties who do not have the right to view the data held on the system. IT systems often hold sensitive data about organizations or individuals. So what are the methods? We provide the physical access controls, we provide the software access controls like username, passwords, etc., to make sure the confidentiality of the data. Integrity, this refers to two things: the integrity of data and the integrity of processing. Data important hai, of course, but if the hacker has not been able to gain access to the data but has been able to gain the access to the process, so what they can do is, by doing that process, they can term it in a way कि वो denial of service attack हो जाता है। मसलन किसी वेबसाइट के ऊपर क्विकली उन्होंने एक्सेस ले ली प्रोसेसिंग के ऊपर, आपका कोई फॉर्म इस तरह का पड़ा हुआ है कि बड़ा ओपन सा है, तो उसने उसके ऊपर अपना कोई एक सॉफ्टवेयर कोड लिखा और सॉफ्टवेयर कोड के थ्रू उसने इतनी ज्यादा आपकी वेबसाइट के ऊपर एक्टिविटीज परफॉर्म कर दी, यानी 1 सेकंड के अंदर 500 जो लोग हैं वो इनपुट कर रहे हैं उसके उस सॉफ्टवेयर के थ्रू, तो बाकी के जो आपके लेजिटिमेट यूजर्स होंगे उनको एक्सेस ही नहीं मिल रही होगी, बिकॉज एक लिमिटेड एक्सेस आपके पास अवेलेबल होती है। Third is availability. One of the most attractive features is its continuous access to the system, and anything that interrupts the availability of access can have enormous commercial impacts. So availability attacks खास तौर पे कम्युनिकेशन टेक्नोलॉजीज की डिसरप्शन करके अवेलेबिलिटी को नॉन अवेलेबल कर देना या सर्वर शट डाउन कर देना, ये भी एक बड़ा कॉमन अटैक है। डिनायल ऑफ सर्विस की टाइप का है, लेकिन उसमें आपकी मशीन ही शट डाउन कर दी 24/7। आप ई कॉमर्स वेबसाइट है और उसने आपकी मशीन ही बंद कर दी, फिजिकली ऑफ करके चला गया, तो वो सर्टेनली नॉन अवेलेबल हो गया। कई मरतबा आप देखते हैं एक वेबसाइट एक्सेस कर रहे हैं तो 404 का ऑप्शन आ रहा है, तो वो 404 जो कोड है वो नॉन अवेलेबिलिटी का होता है। इट कुड बी ए लीगल लेजिटिमेट activity which is happening, or it could be a hacking activity. Consider the situation of an online retailer and identify why cybersecurity is important. Confidentiality: an online retailer will store an enormous amount of sensitive information about its customers, not least their name, address, and bank details. If the accounts of the retailer were to be hacked into, then the hacker would be able to access the financial data of the customers and use it for criminal purposes, almost certainly leading to financial loss for the customers. The impact on the retailer would be enormous. The retailer may be fined by the regulatory authority of the country where the crime took place, and additionally, the online retailed may face litigation from those parties who lost out. Apart from that, it should also be noted that the online retailer would face huge reputational damage and may find the customers would be reluctant to trust their sensitive data to that particular retailer again. With reference to integrity, if the retailer's system were to be hacked into, it may be the case that data could be compromised. To take a very simple example, if the addresses of the customers were to be deleted from the system, it would be very much more difficult to deliver to the customer's address. Of course, it would be immediately apparent if the addresses were all deleted. But what if the information were to be changed in a more subtle way? A slight alteration to the postcodes would be less obviously apparent, but would have the effect of many deliveries not being made to the right address. This would result in the retailer having to redeliver the packet and consequently facing huge costs and delivery delays, of course. Equally consider what would happen if the integrity of the processing were to be compromised. It might be the case that once an item had been delivered, the invoicing might not occur, or the accounting records might not be fully updated. Either way, it is not difficult to imagine a situation where the retailer was to face huge costs to correct the issues. Availability. Many people shop online because of the ease and convenience of doing so. If there was to be an interruption to the service, it could have a significant reputational impact, and customers may not go to a competitor to complete the purchase, who may go to a competitor. Once a customer has gone to a competitor, they might not return. Of course, a second issue to remember is that online retailers may be selling anywhere in the world, and so it is important that even if it is the middle of the night in the retailer's home country, it will be busiest time of the day somewhere in the world, and the retailer wants to make sure their website is available to the customers in that particular location. So availability is one we know the one of the exam issues. So what are the kind of controls we develop? Initial onboarding training. The first thing is that each time you make the hiring and you take the people on board, so you train them to make sure that they do not indulge themselves into any cyber risk intentionally or unintentionally. So this will ensure that all new employees are made aware of the organization's policies and procedures, and that they are made aware of why they are in place. Regular training sessions. This will keep new and existing staff up to date on the current and future threats the organization is facing. And once we are saying that regular training sessions, the frequency is very big size in number. Reason being, it is understood that every 39 seconds a new threat is generated in the world. So you can imagine, you can understand कि कितनी training चाहिए होगी. The system which you are using should be designed to incorporate an expiration date of passwords. So what we do is, as a policy, हम weekly basis, fortnightly basis पे password updates करवाते हैं, so that the passwords are not, because password sharing एक बड़ा common phenomena है, तो लोग करके भूल जाते हैं, so password changing compulsory होनी चाहिए. So especially with reference to the organizational passwords, so that the staff have to change passwords on a regular basis. Password designs. There should be a restriction on what format the password should be or not be, to make it harder for hackers to guess, for example, avoiding sequential changes such as password 1, password 2, password, etc. हम password histories maintain करते हैं अपने पास, और उसका advantage ये होता है कि any password which has been used historically in the last 12 months or so, वो repeat नहीं करने देता. इस तरह की हम चीजें अक्सर कर रहे होते हैं. But this is perhaps one of the biggest leakage methodology. Guessing a password becomes very easy अगर लोग जो है वो इस तरह के पासवर्ड्स यूज कर रहे हो, लाइक सीक्वेंस ऑफ 1 2 3 4 5. ये एक हायरार्किकल ऑर्डर में एक एग्जांपल शो की गई है कि ये पासवर्ड्स हैं जो मैक्सिमम लोग यूज करते रहे हैं. 1 2 3 4 5 6 पासवर्ड इज द पासवर्ड, ठीक है. एंड 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 QWERTY, which is a keyboard name normally, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, or ASDFGL LKJH ये भी एक बड़ा कॉमन पासवर्ड हुआ करता है, बिकॉज ये मिड रो है आपके कीबोर्ड की। पासवर्ड की बेस्ट टेक्निक ये है कि पूरे का पूरा कीबोर्ड को हम चूंकि दोनों हाथों से ऑपरेट करते हैं, तो बोथ राइट हैंड साइड वाले कैरेक्टर्स और लेफ्ट हैंड साइड वाले कैरेक्टर्स और चारों की चारों रोज यानी 3 अल्फाबेटिक और चौथी न्यूमेरिक एंड स्पेशल कैरेक्टर रोज सबको यूज करना चाहिए अच्छे पासवर्ड के लिए। साइबर सिक्योरिटी के की कंट्रोल टाइप्स में ऑथराइजेशन, व्हाट यू डू इज दैट यू ऑथराइज द पीपल बाय गिविंग देम द यूजर नेम्स, ऑथराइज्ड यूजर नेम्स। एक्सेस कंट्रोल्स के कितनी एक्सेस उनको है, किसको किस चीज की एक्सेस है। अगर आपके पास एचआर का या फाइनेंस का सिस्टम चल रहा है तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि जो एक्सेस मैनेजर के पास है वो उसके नीचे वाले लोगों के पास भी है। हर एक की एक रिस्ट्रिक्टेड एक्सेस है विद रेफरेंस टू द डेटा। So that is like roles and responsibilities हम define करते हैं. Encryption is a wonderful technique of making sure that the data with that is being stored into your database is always in the encrypted format. To make you understand, जब भी आप अपना पासवर्ड टाइप कर रहे होते हैं तो आप एक्चुअली कैरेक्टर टाइप कर रहे होते हैं, वहां पे स्टैटिक्स आ रहे होते हैं। सो दैट इज वन फॉर्म ऑफ द एनक्रिप्शन डिस्प्ले के ऊपर। लेकिन स्टोरेज के ऊपर भी हम एनक्रिप्ट करते हैं। देयर आर मेनी एनक्रिप्टिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज विच वी यूज, और फिर डिक्रिप्शन टेक्नोलॉजीज होती हैं जो इंश्योर कर रही होती हैं कि जब डेटा रिट्रीव करें तो वो ओरिजिनल हालत में आपके सामने आए। So this is one wonderful way of securing your data. We use security products like the antiviruses, anti-hacking hardware, as well as firewalls, switches, etc., etc. So there are lots of hardware as well as software tools जो available होते हैं। सॉफ्टवेयर अपडेट्स एंड पैच मैनेजमेंट सबसे बड़ा रिस्की एरिया ये होता है। मसलन मैंने अभी एक बात क्विक एग्जांपल, कि आप हार्डवेयर खरीद लेते हैं, मसलन फायरवॉल खरीद लिया, लगा दिया, उस फायरवॉल का एक पासवर्ड भी आता है, सॉरी एक सॉफ्टवेयर भी आता है। वो फायरवॉल का पासवर्ड जो है वो जो सॉफ्टवेयर है वो 1 साल के लिए वैलिड है। फायरवॉल फिजिकली तो आपने लगा दी, लेकिन उसका अगले साल सॉफ्टवेयर अपडेट नहीं करवाया, तो अब वो ऐसी है कि जैसे फायरवॉल नहीं लगी हुई। लेकिन चूंकि फायरवॉल फिजिकली इन प्लेस है, तो एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हम ये अज्यूम कर रहे होते हैं कि हम बहुत सिक्योर हैं, लेकिन एक्चुअली वो एक थ्रेट बन जाता है। तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ। रिमूविंग अननेसेसरी या फंक्शनैलिटी, बहुत सारे सॉफ्टवेयर में ऐसी चीजें हम कर रहे होते हैं जो हमें बाद में अपडेट कर ली, कोई नई बना ली, कुछ नया फीचर ऐड कर लिया, पुराने वाले की जरूरत नहीं है, लेकिन वो फंक्शनैलिटी अभी भी अवेलेबल होती है। हमें वो अवेलेबल नहीं रखनी चाहिए, हमें उसको कहीं ना कहीं खत्म कर देना चाहिए। एंड देन फिजिकल सिक्योरिटी विच इंक्लूड्स द फिजिकल एक्सेस टू योर रिसोर्सेज, जिसमें आरएफआईडी कार्ड्स और कैमरास एंड ऑल दीज सिक्योर्ड लॉगिन्स, डोर लॉक्स एक्सेट्रा, ये सब कुछ अवेलेबल होता है। ये उसी की थोड़ी सी एक्सप्लेनेशन है। मैंने मेरा ख्याल है कि आपको एक्सप्लेन कर दिया है सारा कुछ। So exercises, while passwords are a common safeguard, they are not always as useful as people think. What are the problems associated with the passwords and what might be done to address these problems? Password systems can only be effective if users use them consistently, conscientiously. There are several inherent problems with the password system. क्या है वो? Authorized users may divulge their passwords to a colleague. बड़ा कॉमन है पासवर्ड शेयरिंग। Many passwords जी, पैच मैनेजमेंट, ओके। पैच होता है सॉफ्टवेयर के अंदर, कुछ स्मॉल पैचेस आते हैं, या इवन अगर आप अपनी ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम जो यूज करते हैं तो उसमें या आपका एंड्रॉयड का है या विंडोज का है या एप्पल का है, तो वो कोई एक पर्टिकुलर लूप होल देखते हैं किसी एक सिक्योरिटी के रेफरेंस से। तो जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, चाहे वो एप्पल है या विंडोज है, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट है, वो उसका एक पैच बनाती है और वो पैच बना के आपको अवेलेबल कर देती है ताकि आप उसको अपडेट कर लें और वो जो लूप होल है उसको वो एड्रेस कर सकें। पूरी दुनिया से लोग उनको फीडबैक दे रहे होते हैं कि मैंने ये चीज फेस की, ये इशू फेस किया। अब ये उसी वक्त पॉसिबल है वंस यू आर यूजिंग ए लाइसेंस्ड एप्लीकेशन सॉफ्टवेयर और ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम फॉर दैट मैटर। जब आप लाइसेंस इन द मोबाइल्स तो इट्स ओके, बिकॉज आप लेजिटिमेट ही यूज कर रहे होते हैं। बट हमारी कंप्यूटराइज्ड एनवायरनमेंट के अंदर लैपटॉप्स और बाकी के हार्डवेयर के ऊपर नॉन सर्वर हार्डवेयर यूजर कंप्यूटर्स के ऊपर हम पाकिस्तान में पर्टिकुलरली अगर बात करें तो पायरेटेड सॉफ्टवेयर यूज कर रहे होते हैं, तो फिर पैचेस जो है वो मैनेज नहीं हो रहे होते। कई मतलब आपने देखा होगा कि आप एंटी वायरस को यूज कर रहे हैं फ्री का डाउनलोड करके, तो फिर उसको अपग्रेड उसके पैच अपडेट्स नहीं कर सकते। सो होपफुली दैट आंसर्स योर क्वेश्चन। Password systems can only be effective if users use them. Okay, so हम ये बात कर रहे थे authorized used users जो हैं वो शेयर करते हैं, तो वो नहीं करने चाहिए। Many passwords may have associations with the users so that a hacker can discover them by experimentation. मसलन कॉमन तरीके क्या है, नाम अपना, अपना गाड़ी का नंबर, घर का नंबर, फोन नंबर एटसेट्रा इनको पासवर्ड यूज कर रहे होते हैं, तो प्लीज ये अवॉइड करना है आपने। पासवर्ड्स आर ऑफन रिटन डाउन, जहां पे मुश्किल पासवर्ड्स हों, जहां पे ज्यादा पासवर्ड्स हों तो लोग लिख के रख लेते हैं, तो ऑफ कोर्स दैट बिकम्स अ बिगर रिस्क, बिकॉज वो डायरी जो आपकी मिसप्लेस होगी तो फिर वो सारे पासवर्ड चले जाएंगे। इन इश्यूज को कैसे एड्रेस किया जाता है? पासवर्ड की लेंथ अब आप देखते हैं कि मुख्तलिफ वेबसाइट्स के ऊपर, ईमेल्स और सोशल मीडिया साइट्स के ऊपर मिनिमम लेंथ जो है वो डिफाइन कर दी है। तो जैसे 8 है, इट कुड बी 8, 10, 12, एनीथिंग। Variety which includes the upper and lower case letters, numbers, special characters. Significance: use a date or name that is significant to an individual is advised against. They should be memorable though. Questions आ जाते हैं। Change: users should be required to change their passwords regularly, बड़ा common चीज है। Unwritten: users should be encouraged never to write down their passwords. And private: there should be strict controls over passwords. They should never be lent or written down where they can be easily seen. So ये वो methods हैं जिसके थ्रू हम पासवर्ड्स को मैनेज करते हैं। पासवर्ड्स के ऊपर हम बहुत सारी बातें मजीद कर सकते हैं, बट एनीवेज क्विकली मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, डिजास्टर रिकवरी एंड द बिजनेस कॉन्टिन्यूटी इज अ बिग सब्जेक्ट। देखिए, हमने सब कुछ कर लिया, पासवर्ड भी लगा दिए, फायरवॉल्स भी लगी हुई हैं, सब कुछ है, but even then a disaster may happen. It can be a natural calamity like an earthquake or a flooding activity, or urban flooding has become a common thing these days. या इससे पहले वो जो दहशतगर्दी के वाकयात, 9/11 हुआ, या दुनिया में और भी बहुत सारे ऐसे वाकयात हुए जिसमें आपके कंप्यूटर सिस्टम्स भी इफेक्ट होते हैं। So businesses cannot afford to that they go down, right? They go down for an unlimited period of time. So organizations need to plan for when things go wrong to ensure the business continuity. A backup system involves having resources available in the event of a disaster, such as fire in the organizational premises, meaning that the organization operations are able to get back up and running with the minimum of interruption. There are a number of forms of backup that could be used as by an organization. उसमें frequency भी involve होती है कि कब आप backup ले रहे होंगे. So the first thing is the cold backup, the second is the hot backup, the third is the mirror system, और एक hybrid backups भी हमारे पास होते हैं. The cold backup is that you take a backup of all your data. That is the minimum thing, that your whole data is backed up. Once a disaster happens, what you do is you try to build your resources, the rest of the resources, that is hardware, the people and all that, you arrange all those, and then you restore your data from your cold backup and start your operations. It's time consuming as compared to the rest of the two, but it bears minimum cost. कॉस्ट के हवाले से ये सबसे कम पैसे लगते हैं इसके ऊपर, लेकिन ये को बहुत अच्छी स्ट्रेटजी नहीं है, खासतौर पे उन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए जो 24/7 ऑपरेशंस में हैं या जिनके ऑपरेशंस बहुत सारे ऑनलाइन हैं. Then we have hot backup. Hot backup is that you have exactly the same infrastructure, exactly the same services, the same software application, and at a place which is distant, geographically distant from your original place. So what if you have one office in Karachi. So what you can do is you can have a similar kind of a facility available in Islamabad, and you have backup, data backup. A disaster happens, what you do is that you restore your data at your Islamabad site immediately and start operations again. This is little costlier, whether a disaster happens or not, but you are maintaining two sites. ठीक है, लेकिन ये immediate restoration इसमें भी नहीं है, cost बहरहाल ज्यादा है. Third one is the mirror system, where the data is being backed up, or rather all the software and the data is being backed up in the mirror format. Yani you have two physical sites. On each of the sites, the data is being replicated in the live manner. A transaction happens at your original site, the data is immediately backed up to the mirrored site as well. So it requires, it carries all the features of the hot backup site, that is like the physical infrastructure on both places. But at the same time, both are connected in the real time as well, to make sure that once a system goes down, it takes a very minimal of time, sometimes in less than a minute, to start the operations again. But remember, both in hot and the mirror system, what we do not do is that we do not go for the 100% full operations, but what we do is that we start all those operations which are very necessary for the immediate business activities. For example, आपके एप्लीकेशन सॉफ्टवेयर में जहां पे 24/7 की आपकी वेबसाइट है, ई-कॉमर्स की और आपके फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग की एंड ऑल दैट, तो वहां पे आपका पेरोल भी है. तो पेरोल अब इस नेसेसिटी का नहीं है कि वो ड्यूरिंग मिरर या हॉट बैकअप में भी आप उसको चला रहे हो. व्हाट यू कैन डू इज दैट ए डिजास्टर हैज अकर्ड, आप अपनी बेयर मिनिमम एक्टिविटीज जो हैं वो चला रहे हैं, और जब 100% रेस्टोरेशन ऑन द ओरिजिनल साइट होगी तो फिर आप अपने फुल ऑपरेशन शुरू कर देंगे. ये उन्हीं की एक्सप्लेनेशन है, मैंने उसको एक्सप्लेन आपको कर दिया. So there's an exercise. You are the finance manager of Concerts RS Limited, a firm that manages Hypergig, a large arena in the center of the city of Zamuka. The venue puts on concerts for high-profile bands and comedians who would expect to perform for crowds in excess of 20,000 people. The arena is the largest indoor space in the country, and there is nowhere even close in size within 200 kilometers of the venue. Recently, there was much press coverage of a non-lethal fire at an arena in the neighboring country, and the directors of the business have come to you asking for advice on business continuity. What would you suggest they do to protect themselves from the risk of such a disaster befalling concerts or us? As the management of the hypergig, a fire or other such disaster would have a severe impact on our operations, and it would therefore make sense to have some form of business continuity planning in place. While there are a number of options available, I think the most sensible option would be to go for a cold backup system. This would involve us signing a contract with a disaster recovery firm that would allow us have access to a suite of offices in Zamuka that we could use in the event of a fire or the other disaster. This suite would be available for us to use at a short notice, and would ideally be close to the center of Zamuka, but not too close to the location of hypergig, since we would want to use the premises as soon as possible. And in the event of say a fire, we would not want be unable to get access to the suite. There are three options open to us: cold backup, hot backup, or mirror system. Cold backup is the cheapest, and the mirror system is the most expensive. With the cold backup system, we would have access to the office suite, but that would be we would not, we will need to buy and install hardware, and that of course would take time to enable. ये मैंने सारा explain कर दिया होगा आपको. We would need to transfer information onto the new hardware, so it would be important to back up data from our IT system at an external site so we could get access to it. We could investigate the possibility of using a cloud-based system to store our backup each night. With the hot backup, we would initially have the hardware and software in place, so it would be quicker to get our operations back up and running. With the mirror system in place, we would effectively have a copy of our system running in the background. So if anything did happen to our main system, we would just switch to the mirror system almost immediately. Nobody would be aware of the fact that something has happened to our system. So this is like how these sites come. While hot backup and mirror systems are much quicker to get up and running, they are both much more expensive, and a cold backup in my opinion, not worth the extra cost. My reasons for this are as follows. ये certainly लेकिन ये depend करता है कि आप किस तरह की organizations हैं. If Hypergig were to burn down or be subject to any other disaster, we would not be able to continue in business. The arena is core to our operations, and without it, all we would want to do is to wind up operations, not find another way to carry on. There are no other premises within 200 kilometers that we could see to use as a temporary replacement. So it would be unrealistic to think that we would be able to continue operations. If there were to be a fire, our main objective would be to establish a point of contact for staff and customers so that they would be able to find out what the implications would be for them. Nobody would expect this to be ready within minutes. In such circumstances, the staff would expect to talk to a human rather than look up what has happened on a website. So we would need to set up points of contact for our staff to call. We could set up now on our website so that in the event of an emergency, we would not need to start posting phone numbers on our website. The use of hot backups and mirror systems is usually restricted to high-profile internet operations where an interruption to their website would cause significant damage to their business reputation, but which could be possible to work around. This is not case for us. So in my opinion, extra cost would not be worthwhile. So this is like a solution given in that particular scenario, but practically depending upon the type of organization you are, आपको hot और mirror sites के ऊपर भी आजकल सारी e-commerce websites जो है वो mirroring के ऊपर चल रही होती हैं, social media sites mirroring के ऊपर चल रही होती हैं. IoT, Internet of Things, mobile and communication technologies. The Internet of Things describes the network of smart devices with inbuilt software and connectivity to the internet, allowing them to constantly monitor and exchange data. In part, this development has been driven by a number of factors. The increasing speed of processing allowed by the latest generation of microprocessors and the reduction of cost caused by increasing economies of scale. The increasing rollout of ever more reliable broadband networks allowing greater flow of digital information, the increasing acceptance of people to allow their data to be stored and shared over networks. So इसकी वजह से अब हम connected हैं हर वक्त. What are the common formats of the IoT? बहुत सारी हैं. Smart meters are very common these days, जिसमें आप home control thermostat devices हैं, आप refrigerators, air conditioners, heating, cooling devices, वो सारे के सारे control कर सकते हैं. Even the lights, doorbells and security, door locks are available. These talk to your phone or laptop. A live connection is established if the doorbell is pressed or the motion sensors activated, allowing immediate interaction. Cameras are very common these days for this purpose. Wearable technologies like the watches, smart watches, etc. जो fitness से related, आपने कितनी walk की है आज, कितना आपने अपने आप को जो है वो workout किया है, ये सारे के सारे health और well-being से related online IoTs हैं. Home appliances, refrigerators, etc. मैंने पहले भी बात की, such as Smart lights, ovens, central heating can be monitored remotely and controlled from your phone, etc. The industrial level पे रेफ्रिजरेशन टेक्निक्स इन्वेंटोरीज मैनेज करने के लिए भी की जाती हैं. लोग देख लेते हैं कि मेरे प्रोडक्शन यूनिट पे मेरे रेफ्रिजरेटर में कितना सामान पड़ा हुआ है, कितना नहीं पड़ा हुआ, सो रीऑर्डरिंग की जा सके. कार्स हमने देख लिया क्या स्मार्ट कार्स बहुत कॉमनली यूज में आना शुरू हो गई हैं. Used to control cars are increasingly sophisticated. They track and monitor thousands of parameters on every journey. This capability is central in the development of autonomous vehicles. Transport and infrastructure. Smart motorways are a common feature in many countries. Traffic sensors monitor the flow and the buildup of traffic and respond by providing extra lanes, perhaps by turning the hard shoulder of a motorway into an extra lane, or by changing the direction of a traffic in a lane to make better use of the lanes available. Manufacturing equipment in the plant. Monitoring of business assets facilitates efficient utilization. It allows continual live feedback to track performance and flag maintenance requirements before machines break down. So these are all IoT examples. Now, the very interesting part, automation and artificial intelligence. We all know that artificial intelligence has become a real talk of the town these days, most recently in the last 2-3 years. AI is the area of computer science that focuses on creation of intelligent machines that work and react like human beings. The key to understanding this is to think of the famous Turing test developed by Alan Turing to decide if a machine could be said to be thinking like a human being. Simply put, the test consisted of a human and a computer communicating through a written medium such as computer screen. A second person would be able to see the communication but not who or what was generating them. First of the type of the AI is machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI where effectively AI computer code is built to learn from prior experiences and to then apply this learning to a given situation to give a fact-driven plausible outcome. If the conclusion of the computer turns out to be incorrect, this will act to add more experience to its records of results and choices and enhance its understanding further. A record of the error is made and the system remembers not to act in that way again if the same situation arises. So क्या है कि मशीन जो है उसको स्मार्ट बनाया जा रहा है, उसके अंदर इतना डेटा फीड किया जा रहा है लर्निंग के रेफरेंस से कि वो अपने पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस गुड और बैड उन सबको स्टोर कर रहा है और डिसीजन मेकिंग में आपको चीजें दे रहा है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंटली. Essentially, machine learning algorithms detect patterns and learn how to make predictions and recommendations rather than following explicit programming instruction. The algorithms themselves then adopt to new data and experience to improve their functions over time. The ancient strategy game of Go was mastered in just 3 days by a supercomputer. Go is played on a 19 by 19 grid. And this open-ended game has more possible configurations than known atoms in this universe. The supercomputer played 4.9 million games against itself, having been provided with nothing more than the rules of the game. In just 3 days, the computer discovered and improved upon all of the commonly used patterns of human play. And when tested against the computer program that first beat the world champion player a year earlier, the new supercomputer won 100 games to nil. So that's like the machine learning power. Types of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is currently categorized under 4 headings. Reactive AI. The most basic artificial intelligence जो है वो reactive है. Because it reacts to the existing conditions as the name suggests. and is associated with relatively simple rule-based environment. Deep Blue, the supercomputer created by the IBM in 1980s that ultimately competed and won a chess match against reigning world champion Garry Kasparov, is a notable example of reactive AI. कि वो Kasparov जो गेम खेल रहा था उसके रिएक्शन में वो moves अपनी कर रहा था. In a chess game, the pieces have to move in a set way, rules defined they, and reactive AI means the computer looks at the pieces on the board and picks out the best move based on what position they are in now, with the intention of achieving a set goal, which is winning the game. Reactive AI functions the way it was programmed, with a predictable output based on the input it receives from both sides. Limited memory AI. The next most sophisticated AI is called limited memory AI. It is characterized by the ability to absorb learning data and improve over time based on its experience. The key point is that computers' observations are added to the computer pre-programmed representations of the world. Self-driving cars are an example of limited memory AI because the algorithms that power these vehicles use data they were trained and programmed on to understand how to operate. This AI then goes further. The computer begins to interpret data it observes and its environment, which hopefully means that it is able to improve its performance. For instance, it has been demonstrated that the incident reaction time of autonomous vehicles improved significantly with limited memory AI, an important result that makes them safer on public roads. So, उनको environment learning, weather, road traffic condition वगैरह वगैरह उनकी memory में लगी होती है और further उसको improve किया जा रहा है. Theory of mind. At the next stage of development, computers start to build up an internal view of the world and how the entities other than itself behave. This representation of how the world works involves the computer being to develop an understanding that other entities have emotions but affect their behavior. Self-aware AI. The final type of AI is self-aware AI. This will be when machines are not only aware of emotions and mental states of others, but also their own. Once self-aware AI is achieved, we would have AI that has human level consciousness and equals human intelligence with the same needs, desires, and emotions. Yet to be achieved perfectly, but work is being done onto that. As a part of the process in developing artificial intelligence, a number of new techniques have emerged, including the AI accelerator. This is a class of specialized computer systems designed to accelerate intelligence applications, including artificial neural networks and machine learning. It is hoped by practitioners in the AI field that they will help speed up the move towards theory of mind and self-aware AI. The work is on, but I mean, things are to be achieved yet. Some of the usages of AI are in the industrial sector, जहाँ पे machines को AI based जो है वो बहुत सारे instructions के ऊपर improve किया जा रहा है, productivity improve की जा रही है. Okay, blockchain. So what is a blockchain? A blockchain has been described as a decentralized, distributed, and public digital ledger that is used to record transactions across many computers. So blocks of computers chained together, ये एक concept है. This means the record cannot be subsequently altered without the alteration of all subsequent blocks on all computers on the network. So it is quite safe, 100% safe in the sense of alteration or hacking or other activities. The Bank of England has defined blockchain as a technology that allows people who do not know each other to trust a shared records of events. one could think of it as a system in which every transaction is recorded on everybody's books. And so it is very difficult to fraudulently manipulate the records unless one has access to everyone's system. And since we do not know each other, तो हमें पता ही नहीं कि कौन-कौन यूज कर रहा है, तो इसलिए फ्रॉड्स के कॉन्सेप्ट जो हैं वो मिनिमाइज हो जाते हैं. अगेन मिनिमाइज मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि 99.9999% हम लेते हैं. Transactions are recorded by a number of participants using a network operating over the internet, not just the two parties directly involved in the transactions. When a transaction is undertaken, all the ledgers in the network are updated in the same way, and it takes the agreement of all parties in the chain to allow their ledgers to be updated in order for the transactions to be accepted. Transactions are verified by computers, not by humans, only when all the computers making up the network have validated the transaction and can be added to the blockchain. When a new block of data is added to the blockchain, it is linked to the previous block of data using a cryptographic hash, crypto की हमने बात कर ली, which is generated using the contents of the previous block, this of like a check digit. Check digit का concept mostly पता होगा, जैसे कि हमारे CNIC हैं, उसमें लास्ट डिजिट जो है वो चेक डिजिट है, और वो एक मेथड होता है, एक फॉर्मूला होता है जिसके थ्रू हम वो नारा इंश्योर कर रहा होता है कि अगर चेक डिजिट गलत है तो इसका मतलब है बाकी के सारे नंबर में भी गलती है. सो वो एक चेकिंग का सिस्टम है, बड़ा पुराना सिस्टम है हमारे पास ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के अंदर. If a thief wanted to remove, say, block 10, the link from block 11 would now try to link up to the block 9, but it wouldn't fit because वो check digit जो है उसका वो काम नहीं कर. Now, ये blockchain technologies ने जो advantage दिया है, वो ये दिया है कि crypto currencies को इसने जो है वो एक platform दे दिया. So Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies ये क्या हैं? In 2008, that is now 16 years or so, an anonymous individual or perhaps a group of individuals calling themselves Satoshi Nakamoto invented the first cryptocurrency, which is named as Bitcoin. So what they did was, using blockchain technology, Bitcoin is a cryptographically secure currency that was created to be used universally for payments similar to the cash. Do we have any example of any public entity operate blockchain? To my knowledge, स्टेट बैंक ने कुछ अपनी इम्प्लीमेंटेशंस की हुई हैं और सिक्योरिटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने की हुई हैं, लेकिन हमें डिटेल्स नहीं पता चूंकि वो सिक्योरिटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने की हुई हैं. फॉर श्योर पाकिस्तान में सिक्योरिटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस पब्लिक सेक्टर में की हुई हैं उन्होंने. आई वोंट नेम देम, लेकिन सिंस चूंकि वो सिक्योरिटी के पर्पसेस के लिए ही हैं, तो इसलिए हम उसको उस तरह से एड्रेस नहीं कर सकते. मैं सिर्फ इतना बता सकता हूं फॉर दैट मैटर दैट आई वाज इनवाइटेड सिंस आई वाज वर्किंग विद द गवर्नमेंट, तो lots of people were invited to tell them कि जी हमने एक ऐसा सिस्टम इंप्लीमेंट कर दिया है ब्लॉकचेन का, जहां पे सिक्योरिटी रिस्क्स टू दी गवर्नमेंट एंटिटीज जो है वो हम एड्रेस कर रहे होंगे. तो उस रेफरेंस से उन्होंने हमें सिर्फ इंस्ट्रक्शंस पास ऑन की थी कि हमें अपने अपने एंड पे क्या चीजें करना है. ऐसा स्टेट बैंक ने भी कुछ उसी रेफरेंस से कुछ चीजें इंप्लीमेंट की हैं, लेकिन वो कमर्शियल लेवल पे ऐसा अभी तक नहीं की गई. सो होप दैट आंसर्ड योर क्वेरी. So Bitcoin was similar to the cash. So it is a decentralized digital currency that can be sent from user to user on a peer-to-peer network as a medium of exchange of value without the need of intermediaries or central regulatory authority, such as the Bank of England or State Bank of Pakistan, etc., as it was based on the internet and was not subject to any form of centralized control. it would be possible to use it anywhere in the world and be able to be transferred quickly, safely, and cheaply without the need of any intermediaries. The 4 key characteristics of the cryptocurrency are: in traditional currencies such as dollar or sterling, governments and central banks control the financial system. However, with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, these transactions can be processed and validated by a distributed and open network that is not owned by a government or government regulated body such as Bank of England or any other bank for that matter. Okay, with reference to the blockchain in the private sector organizations, I have to find out. In the world, there are so many implementations. E-commerce providers, जितने भी हैं, like eBay or Daraz for that matter. So ये use कर रहे हैं blockchain को. लेकिन अगर बिल्कुल लोकल पाकिस्तानी किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की बात करें तो probably there is no incident, there is no activity like that in any entity. But yes, large scale Uber, Careem, Daraz, eBay, e-commerce organizations जो हैं वो blockchain की तरफ move हो चुके हैं. There are lots of software houses in Pakistan जो ब्लॉकचेन के ऊपर काम करके यूएस में या यूरोप में या इवन गल्फ में प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं. सो ब्लॉकचेन की इंप्लीमेंटेशंस हो रही हैं, बट पर्टिकुलरली पाकिस्तानी लोकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस की सच नहीं है. So the first of the characteristics is the decentralized, no central authority. In traditional currencies such as sterling or dollars, governments and central banks control the financial system. However, with Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, these transactions can be processed and validated by a distributed open network that is not owned by government or any government-related bodies. Governments have on occasions been known to manipulate currencies for political ends. So we all know that governments जो traditional currencies के साथ they do that to control the either in artificial weaknesses या inflation controls वगैरह वगैरह के लिए to promote exports or strengthening the currency to fight inflation etc. लेकिन जबकि क्रिप्टो करेंसीज में ऐसा पॉसिबल नहीं होता. Sometimes artificial. Okay, the second of the irreversible and immutable. Immutability is in regards to blockchain and cryptocurrencies should follow 3 principles. It should be highly improbable or difficult to rewrite history. It should be impossible for anyone but the owner of a private key to move funds. इसमें public और private keys दोनों use की जाती हैं. जो थोड़ा सा मैंने आपको कार्ड की शक्ल में बताया था कि private keys होती हैं. All transactions are recorded on the blockchain to guarantee the 2 principles above, वो जो पहले हमने blockchain की discussion की. The irreversible and immutable features of cryptocurrency means that it is impossible for anyone but the owner of the respective private key to move their digital assets, and thus transactions cannot be changed once it is recorded on the blockchain. This can cause problems if an owner of a cryptocurrency forgets their private key. Of course, बहुत बड़ा issue हो जाता है. There's no one else who can free up the cryptocurrency and the asset is lost. It is anonymous in general as well. People do not know who is doing this transaction. Since there is no need for a central authority, users do not need to identify themselves when transacting with cryptocurrency. When a transaction request is submitted, the decentralized network will check the transaction and verify it and record it on the blockchain accordingly. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin uses a private key and public key system to authenticate these transactions. This means users can create anonymous digital identities and digital wallets to transact on the decentralized excuse me for a second. Decentralized system and still be able to securely authenticate their transactions. While this may seem a minor point, it is in fact one of the most compelling reasons why governments may wish to limit cryptocurrencies used by their population. No one knows who owns or transacts with the cryptocurrency means that criminals find it very attractive as a means of transferring criminal proceeds without detection. That is why it it is banned by many of the countries till today. But we know that there are okay, so limited supply and scarcity. Traditional currencies have an unlimited supply. We know that the countries actually publish their currencies, as the central banks can issue and or print as much of those currencies as they want. Such quantitative easing programs were deployed by many central banks to ease the credit crunch in 2008 and to support governments spending during the COVID pandemic. We all know that. On the other hand, most cryptocurrencies have a limited and predetermined supply of cryptocurrency that is coded into its underlying algorithm when it is created. This means that the value of the cryptocurrency should not be diluted by any sudden increase in the volume of, say, Bitcoin that exists. Crypto mining is not allowed in Pakistan. It is illegal by the government of Pakistan. But yes, we know that still lots of फिर भी हो तो रही है, but since still as on today पाकिस्तान में किसी तरह की भी कोई क्रिप्टो जो है वो अलाउड नहीं है. बहुत सारी हैं. बिटकॉइन इज वन एग्जांपल. कॉइन बेस है, क्रैकन है, जेमिनाई है, बाइनेंस है. ये बहुत सारी क्रिप्टो करेंसीज मार्केट में हैं, लेकिन पाकिस्तान में बैंड है. बहुत सारी कंट्रीज में बैंड है. इनफैक्ट ट्रेडिशनल करेंसीज have unlimited supply. Okay, so on the other hand, most cryptocurrencies have a limited or predominant supply. हमने ये बात कर ली. Many major cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dash have a maximum supply, making them deflationary by nature. Any increase in the demand or adoption of the cryptocurrency will cause a corresponding increase in the price. That is how this is traded as well even today. So what is a cryptocurrency? Is a digital asset designed to work as just cryptocurrency is a digital asset designed to work as a medium of exchange wherein an individual coin ownership records are stored in a ledger existing in a form of a computerized database using strong cryptography to secure transaction records, to control the creation of any additional coins, and to verify the transfer of coin ownership. As at April 2021, the largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization is Bitcoin, which equals to $1129 billion, followed by Ethereum, $249 billion. A host of other exists such as Tether and Cardano, but none of them had value in excess of $90 billion. In cryptocurrency networks, the process of mining is required to validate transactions. Mining refers to the use of global system of connected computers that race to verify new transactions by solving complex mathematical problems. For instance, miners are paid 6.25 Bitcoin per block verified, equivalent to $147,000 per transaction in July 22. Bitcoin aims to verify a new block about every 10 minutes. There is some debate about the use of cryptocurrencies, but as with any currency, part of their use is to buy goods or services. At the time of writing, some companies are willing to take cryptocurrencies as a form of payment, but these are very few. That situation may, of course, change if there continues to be interest in cryptocurrencies as an alternative to traditional currencies. At the time of writing, April 2021, a number of companies take Bitcoin in payment. Microsoft allows users to top up their accounts with Bitcoin, and Amazon's live streaming platform, Twitch, accepts Bitcoin. But note that these companies are very much in the high-tech era, so common nahi hai. By contrast, in 2021, Tesla stopped accepting Bitcoin, citing the environment impact of data mining as the reason behind its decision. Because cryptocurrencies के साथ साथ बहुत ज्यादा डेटा भी जनरेट हो रहा होता है, तो ऑफ कोर्स जो आपका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है उसकी कॉस्ट बहुत बढ़ जाती है. तो क्रिप्टोकरेंसी शायद जब इम्प्लीमेंट हो 100% कहीं जाके, तो बहुत बड़ा एक नेटवर्क ऑफ नेटवर्क्स हमें मजीद बनाने पड़ेंगे. कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव मेथड ऑफ ट्रांसफरिंग फंड्स. One of the major uses of cryptocurrencies is to send money across borders with the help of cryptocurrency. The transactions fees paid by a user is reduced to a negligible or zero amount. It does so by eliminating the need for third parties like Visa or PayPal to verify transactions. This removes the need to pay an extra transaction fee. So it's a cost-effective advantage. Speculation. Another use of money has always been to act as a store of value. And at the time of writing, there are those who take the view that cryptocurrencies are nothing more than an opportunity to speculate. Certainly, the value of Bitcoin has been highly volatile in the period of 29 to 21, and many commentators are of the opinion that the volatility is set to continue, and it is continuing as on today. It is protection from inflation. Some commentators that have suggested that cryptocurrencies may be viewed as attractive because for almost all cryptocurrencies, there is a limit set to the number of units that can be produced, which will be expected to help them to protect their value right at the outset. The source code specifies the maximum number that can be produced. With Bitcoin, for instance, the maximum number that could be created over time was limited to 21 million units. इसी वजह से वोलेटिलिटी भी बहुत ज्यादा होती है क्योंकि इसकी स्कैरसिटी है, इन्फ्लेशन नहीं है. Illegal activities. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have been used in the past in illegal activities such as buying illicit drugs over the internet, which means there's always the risk that governments may decide to categorize it as illegal and simply enact legislation to ban it. There have been instances जहां पे ransom के तौर पे भी इसको यूज किया जाता है. Loss of access. The developers of cryptocurrencies placed great emphasis on the untraceability of the source code, strong hacking defenses, and virtually impenetrable authentication protocols. And while this means that any cryptocurrency you possess are extremely safe, it also means that there is no backup if you lose your password to your wallet. If you lose your password, you lose your investment. Manipulation. Cryptocurrencies are known to be decentralized, but at least some of them are still controlled by their creators, and in some cases, the other organizations as well. These stakeholders are able to potentially manipulate the value of the cryptocurrency causing large swings in the price. Ji, please, Madam Munazza. There's a raise of hand. Okay. No refunds.
Sir, as a layman,
Ji. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ
सर
रही है, कट रही है जी, दोबारा बोलिए।
एज अ लेमैन काइंडली मुझे ये बताइए कि सारा ये ट्रांजैक्शन, सर एज अ लेमैन मैं जानना चाहती हूँ कि उसकी फिजिकल एग्जिस्टेंस तो नहीं होती, तो क्या ट्रांजैक्शनल ही वो मूवमेंट हो रही होती है उस क्रिप्टो?
नहीं, डेटा मूवमेंट ही है, सारी की सारी मूवमेंट डेटा मूवमेंट ही है। सो मेरा एक नंबर है कि मेरे पास इतने नंबर ऑफ बिटकॉइंस हैं, तो वो मैं अगर पे कर रहा हूं तो मेरे उतने नंबर ऑफ कॉइन्स जो हैं वो मूव हो जाते हैं। फिजिकल उसकी कोई एग्जिस्टेंस नहीं है, उसका जो है वो आ, जो उसका आपका
सर
नंबर जो है।
जो है ये प्री
जी
नंबर्ड होती है, जैसे आम करेंसी नंबर्ड होती है, ये जरा
जी
बता दें कि
जी जी
आप
जी, नंबर्ड होती है, नंबर्ड होती है। वो एक
ताकि
उसकी
वो
उसकी जो
सेल कर रहा
पब्लिक,
होता है
जी
या ये
पब्लिक और प्राइवेट की के साथ
टोटल
मिलके एक
वॉल्यूम है,
नंबर बना होता है।
पूरी नंबर्ड नहीं है, इस पे बता दें।
इसका नंबरिंग जो है आ, आ, वो आपकी पब्लिक और प्राइवेट कीज और उसके साथ उसका डेटा ही है। आ, आ, उसके अलावा ऐसा फिजिकल कुछ ट्रांजैक्शन मूव नहीं हो रही होती। इट्स अ डेटा मूवमेंट।
नहीं, इवन जो वर्चुअल है वो नंबर्ड है, यानी मेरी आइडेंटिफिकेशन है कि मेरे पास जो करेंसी के 15 हैं यूनिट, उनके नंबर्स क्या हैं, वो मुझे उसका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड मेरे पास होगा कि क्या है,
नहीं,
या
उसका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड कोई नहीं होता आपके पास। आपके पास सिर्फ उनका नंबर ऑफ क्वाइंस आपको पता है, और वही नंबर जो है वो एक्चुअली आपका एग्जिस्ट कर रहा होता है।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
सर तो उसकी उसकी वैल्यू सिर्फ वहीं पे होती होगी जहां पे वो एक्सेप्टेबल हैं, जिन कंट्री में लेजिटिमेट हैं।
जी जी बिल्कुल, और उन्हीं ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में जिनमें वो एक्सेप्ट किए जा रहे हैं।
उसकी एक्सेप्टेंस का, जबकि वो वर्ल्डली एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है, तो उनका फायदा क्या है?
जैसे अभी मैंने थोड़ा सा कहा, मसलन आप माइक्रोसॉफ्ट से कोई सॉफ्टवेयर परचेज करते हैं तो उसके अगेंस्ट आपको पेमेंट करनी है, तो माइक्रोसॉफ्ट चूंकि एक्सेप्ट करता है क्रिप्टो को, तो इंस्टेड ऑफ लाइक सेंडिंग थ्रू योर क्रेडिट और डेबिट कार्ड, आप उनको अपने बिटकॉइंस उतने वैल्यू के बिटकॉइन वैल्यू उसकी कोर्स जिस तरह से स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में हो रही होती है, उस तरह से उसकी एक्सचेंज वैल्यू उस दिन डिस्प्ले हो रही होती है, तो आप उतने उसको बिटकॉइंस जो हैं वो मूव कर देते हैं, तो आपकी पेमेंट हो गई। या इसी तरह से जो जो ये आपकी खासतौर पे प्लेटफॉर्म्स लाइक amazon का जो जो डिजिटल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म है, उसके ऊपर भी वो एक्सेप्ट करता है, आप अपनी सब्सक्रिप्शंस वगैरह रिन्यू कर लेते हैं उसके थ्रू। सो दैट इज द रियल एडवांटेज कि आप अपने क्रेडिट कार्ड डेबिट कार्ड की जो करेंसी है वो फिजिकल मूव नहीं कर रहे, उसकी जगह पे जो कंपनीज एक्सेप्ट कर रही हैं वो उनको आप अपने बिटकॉइंस या कोई और करेंसी जो एक्सेप्ट कर रही हैं उसको वो मूव करके आप अपनी पेमेंट्स कर लेते हैं। Manipulation. So cryptocurrencies are known to be decentralized, but at least some of them are still controlled by their creators. ये हमने बात कर ली. No refunds. A key aspect of the cryptocurrencies is the anonymity of the parties in any transactions, meaning that if a holder of Bitcoin makes a mistake in the transfer of coins, such as paying them to the wrong person, there is no way to get a refund of the payment made. So that's like चूंकि अभी इसीलिए बहुत सारी चीजें की क्लैरिफिकेशन नहीं है, इसलिए वाइडली एक्सेप्टेबल भी नहीं है। Acceptability as a mean of payment. While it is true that some vendors are willing to accept payment in cryptocurrency, the problem still exists that not everyone does. While it might in theory be the case that a trader could be said to hedging their cryptocurrency position by both accepting cryptocurrencies from customers and paying suppliers with them. In practice, it might prove difficult, if not possible, in practice. Ji, please again. There's a question. नहीं जी, स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस के साथ तो मेरा नहीं ख्याल कि कोई है, क्योंकि फॉरेक्स मार्केट नहीं, क्रिप्टो का अपना एक्सचेंज है जी। तो पहला क्वेश्चन है, ट्रेडिंग इन फॉरेक्स मार्केट, क्रिप्टो के अपने एक्सचेंजेस बने हुए हैं, तो वो वहां पे ट्रेडिंग हो रही होती है अगर हो रही हो तो। और
सर
दूसरा है,
एक क्वेश्चन है कि जब हम करेंसी, ये फिजिकल करेंसी जो होती है, उसके अगेंस्ट तो गोल्ड होता है, तो हम वो करेंसी इशू
आपकी
होती
आवाज
है।
ब्रेक हो
तो
जाती है बीच में,
इसके
इसलिए मुझे सवाल
यानी
समझ नहीं आ
क्रिप्टो
रहा
करेंसी,
आपका।
सर मैं टाइप कर देती हूँ, थैंक यू।
जी प्लीज आप टाइप कर दीजिए। ओके। बॉस, जो पहला सवाल है जी जो जो आपका पहला ऑलरेडी लिखा हुआ सवाल है, डू कंपनीज डीलिंग बिटकॉइंस आर रजिस्टर्ड विद एनी स्टॉक एक्सचेंज अराउंड द वर्ल्ड। इसका जवाब ये है कि बहुत सारे कंट्रीज जहां पे रेगुलेट हो गया है, वहां पे तो उन्होंने कुछ इसकी लीगलाइजेशन करके वो उसके उसके कुछ रूल्स रेगुलेशंस बना दिए हैं, और वहां पे ये अलाउ है। लेकिन जिन कंट्रीज में नहीं हुआ है, तो वहां पे ये बहुत बड़ा इशू है अभी, चूंकि वहां पे तो करेंसी ही लीगल नहीं है, तो बाकी की चीजों की तो कोई ऐसा है नहीं। एज रिगार्ड्स इंडिविजुअल ट्रेड ऑफ द क्रिप्टो करेंसी इज कंसर्न, मैंने अब जैसे पहले बताया कि इसकी अपनी एक्सचेंजेस जरूर बनी हुई हैं, तो जो एक्सचेंजेस इसकी अपनी बनी हुई है वहां पे लोग ट्रेड कर रहे होते हैं। बिजनेस रिस्क्स, cryptocurrencies are not backed by a central bank or a national or international organization or assets or other credit, and their value is strictly determined by the value that market participants place on them through their transactions, which means that loss of confidence may bring about a collapse of trading activities and a sudden unexpected drop in value. And we have experienced that many a times in case of uh, uh, Bitcoin especially. Against physical currency, there is condition of gold or reserve. Any conditions about cryptocurrency? No, there's no condition about cryptocurrency. That is already been answered by some of the participants. Fraud risk. Since cryptocurrency is essentially a cash currency, it has attracted a large set of criminal community. These criminals can break into crypto exchanges, drain crypto wallets, and infect individual computers with malware that steals cryptocurrency. This has been these kind of incidents have been reported many a times. देखिए पाकिस्तान में भी चूंकि अभी इलीगल है, लेकिन बहुत सारे लोग थ्रू अदर नेटवर्क्स लाइक वर्चुअल प्राइवेट नेटवर्क्स इसको ट्रेड कर रहे होते थे। तो हैकर्स ने, और वो चूंकि छुप छुपा के कर रहे थे, तो हैकर्स ने उनके कंप्यूटर्स के ऊपर ही अटैक करके सारी हैकिंग करके सारे के सारा, सो बहुत सारे फ्रॉड्स के ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हो जाते हैं। स्पूफिंग है, फिशिंग है, मेलवेयर है, हैकिंग है। So investors must rely upon the strength of their own computer security system, as well as security system provided by third parties, to protect purchased cryptocurrencies from theft. Market risk, there's a finite amount of the currency, which means that it can suffer from liquidity concerns. Put simply, a collapse in confidence in the cryptocurrency may mean that the value of a single coin may fall sharply, reducing the wealth of the individual. Also, the currency can appear more volatile than other physical currencies. There's one very big example. जब टेस्ला ने acceptance बंद की, तो Bitcoin almost collapsed. So this is all about what we discussed today. We talked about big data and data analytics, types and characteristics of the data, big data, data analytics, cloud computing, cyber security, cyber risk, cryptocurrency, AI, artificial intelligence. So these are all the topics which we covered today. We have been taking the questions during the session, but if there are any other question, any other query, so you may ask before we actually close. And also, if you can comment anything.
मैंने भी ये आज का लेक्चर आपके साथ टोटली अटेंड किया है, और आई एम रियली ग्रेटफुल टू अतीक साहब हैज एक्सेप्टेड आवर रिक्वेस्ट टू लीड दिस लेक्चर, क्योंकि ये टेक्नोलॉजी रिलेटेड था। So I found a very best person to deliver this lecture. तो आप को मैं ये सिर्फ कहूँगा कि ये आपका जो पहला आएगा ना प्रोग्रेस टेस्ट, उसके अंदर ये पार्ट होगा टेस्टिंग का, तो इसको क्विकली कर लीजिएगा। ये बहुत ज़्यादा नॉलेज बेस है, तो इसमें टेक्निकल टर्म्स हैं जो कि इन्होंने वेल डिफाइन की हैं, कुछ स्लाइडें भी ऐड की हैं, तो दैट इज़ वेरी यूजफुल। यानी इस हद तक ये स्लाइड कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव कर दी गई हैं कि अगर आप टोटल बुक को, जो वर्क बुक है आपकी, उसको नहीं भी करेंगे तो आपको पास सफिशिएंट नॉलेज होगा टू राइट, क्योंकि इसमें थ्योरेटिकल क्वेश्चन आएगा और शॉर्ट फॉर्म भी हो सकता है और या ये मल्टीपल चॉइस भी हो सकता है। ज़्यादा मेरा फोकस इन पे इसका होगा, इस पे शायद लॉन्ग फॉर्म क्वेश्चन शायद ना आए। what you know about cryptocurrency, any limitation or any risk, something like, तो आपको उस पे 5 मार्क्स का शायद लिखना हो। इसी तरह में भी MCQs के अंदर बात हो, तो do it as quick as possible. Tomorrow inshallah I will be taking your class, जिसमें हम सेशन 3 करेंगे, आपका रिवीजन सेशन जो 3 है, तो उसके बाद you will be in a position to take progress test as per the schedule given to you people. और उसके बाद next week we may have 1 or 2 class, and this will cover, and after giving you some time, वो schedule आपके पास है, will have a mock exam जो रोगों पे होगा आपका, और that will give you enough time to practice work before the exam, which is going to be in the first week of March. Okay, so just work and work. तो टेक ए अपॉर्चुनिटी के आपके जो बैकलॉग है वो सब लोगों का जो निकल जाए, तो यू पीपल शुड बी इन अ पोजीशन टू टेक ए नेक्स्ट डिप्लोमा, उस पर क्लेम कर सकें कि उसके लिए एक पेपर पार्ट है उस डिप्लोमा का। तो गुड लक, तो वर्क अकॉर्डिंग टू द एडवाइस आई हैव जस्ट गिवन टू यू। ओके, एनी पॉइंट, क्वेश्चन? I can't hear you. Can anyone give me
सर बहुत
the
शुक्रिया
response?
जी सर बहुत शुक्रिया,
Thank
एंड
you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर प्रीशियस टाइम सर अतीक साहब।
Thank you. Thank you. Thanking you, and I am also very much thankful to you for sparing the time for us today. So, okay.